The morning light, pale and hesitant, filters through soot-stained windows, brushing against cracked plaster and the damp, threadbare curtains of a tiny London room. A fog of smoke and coal dust hangs heavy in the narrow streets beyond, mingling with the sour tang of yesterday's refuse, the bitter sweetness of unwashed bodies, and the ever-present scent of horse manure. Inside, families stir quietly. Children curl beneath ragged blankets, awakening to the faint chill that slips through creaking floorboards. The air is thick, oppressive, a constant reminder of the city's relentless congestion. Every sound carries significance: the clatter of wooden shoes on uneven cobbles, the distant whinny of a horse, the hollow clang of a water pail tipped in haste. Privacy is a fragile luxury. Every action, from dressing to simple ablutions, is performed in the shadow of neighbors, with little respite from the stifling closeness of the crowded tenement. Water is scarce, and bathing is a cautious ritual, feared to weaken the body if done too often. Instead, sponge baths provide fleeting relief, a careful rubbing of key areas meant to stave off sickness, while the rest of the body remains wrapped in layers of dirt and the lingering scent of smoke. Soap, when present, is precious, a rare indulgence, its thin foam a fleeting promise of purity. The hair, seldom washed, retains the traces of yesterday oils, pomades, even the strange tang of eggs or vinegar used to tame locks that refuse obedience. Teeth are scrubbed with homemade pastes or simple sticks of celery, a humble defense against decay, while the fear of the blacksmith or barber's crude dentistry lingers in memory. Laundry, if done at all, is a laborious ordeal, garments soaked and scrubbed over wooden washboards, stiff with the scent of urine or lye, drying slowly in the damp, gray air. Outside, the streets are alive with the city's filth. Horses clop along puddles thick with mud and refuse. Garbage heaps mingle with sewage, carried unceremoniously into the Thames, the same river that provides drinking water. The miasmas of London, foul, invisible, deadly, drift through the alleys, shaping the rhythm of life, guiding each cautious step, each careful breath. Yet, amid the grime and stench, life persists. People adapt, finding dignity in small acts of care, pride in cleaned hands or a well-combed hair, a fleeting triumph over the unrelenting, omnipresent filth. This is Victorian London at dawn, a city of struggle, of survival, and of resilience, where every moment carries the echo of hardship and the whisper of endurance. The day has scarcely begun, yet the question of water already weighs upon the mind. For us, in the present, water is a friend, pure, clean, ever-present, flowing at the turn of a tap. But in the middle of the 19th century, water was a more complicated companion. It carried with it suspicion. It carried with it fear. To immerse oneself too fully, too often, was thought to weaken the body, to expose the flesh to hidden dangers, to let illness creep in through open pores. The medical knowledge of the age, limited and uncertain, warned that frequent bathing might not cleanse, but rather corrupt. And so, the bath became a rare event. An indulgence. A luxury. Even among those with means, it was something reserved for sickness, or for occasions demanding extraordinary preparation. For the poor, it was a dream scarcely entertained. Few homes possessed tubs, fewer still could summon hot water in abundance. Instead, the ritual of the sponge bath became the humble compromise. A damp cloth, dipped into a small basin, rubbed across the most essential parts: the face, the armpits, the hands, the feet. It was enough to ward away suspicion of neglect. Enough to carry the illusion of freshness. Enough to face the world outside without complete shame. Soap itself was precious, its lather not to be squandered. Many used it sparingly, softening a small bar until it stretched across weeks. For others, soap was an occasional gift, purchased only when coins permitted. Its fragrance, sharp, medicinal, or faintly floral, was a reminder of what life might be, if only cleanliness were within easy reach. But beneath these small acts of washing, a deeper truth lingered. The city itself was too filthy, too overwhelming. To wash one's body entirely, to strip away every trace of grime, was often futile. Within hours, soot would cling once more to hair and clothing. Dust would gather on skin. The stench of the streets would nestle into every fiber. Why battle endlessly with a tide that could never be turned? Better to conserve energy, better to wash where necessity demanded, better to adapt to a world where dirt was the constant companion of all. And yet, human beings are creatures of dignity. Even within poverty, even within hardship, the will to be clean persists. In small gestures, the rinsing of hands, the wiping of a brow, the scrubbing of a child's face before a Sunday service, there was resistance. Resistance against the chaos of filth. Resistance against the humiliation of neglect. In such moments, water became not only feared, but also desired. A fleeting hope. A whisper of purity, fragile but profound. The wealthier classes, too, lived with contradictions. In grander homes, basins and jugs of fresh water stood ready. Servants heated kettles, carried steaming buckets upstairs, and filled porcelain tubs. But even then, baths were not daily indulgences. They were occasional, cumbersome events, requiring labor and preparation. The ritual of washing was tied as much to social display as to genuine cleanliness. For to be clean, in Victorian society, was not simply to be healthy. It was to be respectable. It was to be moral. It was to show the world that one lived above the grime, above the dirt, above the creeping specter of disease that haunted the city's poorest quarters. The paradox was striking. Those who feared water most also sought it with longing. Those who warned of its dangers also recognized its power to soothe, to refresh, to renew. In the quiet basin, in the small sponge, in the rare and precious tub, there was both dread and desire. For the Victorians, water was never simple. It was always shadowed by questions. Was it cleansing, or was it corrupting? Was it health, or was it harm? We, today, lie down in the security of running water, in the comfort of showers and clean rivers, scarcely imagining a time when water was both salvation and threat. Yet in the stillness of a Victorian morning, when a child's face is gently dabbed with a damp cloth, and a woman's hands rub weary skin with a bar of soap worn to its final sliver, we glimpse the fragile, profound humanity of their struggle. They endured not by conquering filth, but by learning to live within it. And so the ritual of bathing or of not bathing was not merely about hygiene. It was about survival. It was about dignity. It was about finding balance in a world where dirt was everywhere, where water could not be trusted, and where the body itself became a battlefield between fear and hope. As the morning light grows a little stronger, our attention turns to the face, the mirror of both survival and society. Teeth, small and fragile, bear the brunt of neglect. In the absence of modern dentistry, the Victorians devised what they could. Some chewed sticks of celery, fibrous and stiff, scraping away the stubborn remnants of yesterday's meals. Others crafted pastes from chalk, salt, or powdered herbs, rubbing the mixture along gums and enamel with fingers or rudimentary brushes. Yet, no matter the effort, decay was frequent, relentless, and often painful. When suffering became too great, the blacksmith or barber took the place of the dentist. The tools were crude, the methods unkind, and anesthesia, still unknown, was absent. A tooth extraction became a trial of endurance, a moment when courage met pain, and sweat mingled with the silent prayers of the patient. Screams echoed briefly in cramped rooms, only to fade into the ordinary sounds of a bustling city that paid little heed to individual suffering. Hair, too, told the story of life in 1850s London. Washing was infrequent, often an event marked by the careful preparation of strange remedies. Eggs, vinegar, or even rum were applied to tame unruly strands, to mask odors that lingered from soot, smoke, and daily toil. Pomades, scented or unscented, clung stubbornly, leaving a faintly rancid trace upon the scalp. Combs, worn and fragile, passed from hand to hand, disentangling locks with care or, more often, with painful tugs. And yet, even in these humble acts, there is resilience. A mother combs her child's hair with the slow rhythm of devotion, fingers gentle but firm, untangling knots in silence. A worker rubs paste across his teeth in the dim light of a small kitchen, knowing the discomfort of decay is inevitable, yet insisting on ritual, on effort. It is a quiet defiance, a recognition that dignity is not merely inherited, but forged daily, in acts both painful and small. There is artistry here, too, though subtle. Women, even in poverty, take care with appearance. Stray hairs are pinned, curls arranged to disguise the unwashed, braids hidden beneath caps or scarves. In wealthier households, hair is scented, oils applied with meticulous hands, combed and braided under the watchful eyes of servants who have learned to transform the ordinary into grace. But beauty comes at a cost. Some remedies are toxic, containing lead, mercury, or other dangerous substances, blind to harm in the pursuit of decorum. The face, the mouth, the hair, they are maps of the body's endurance, records of both struggle and creativity. They speak of the intimate battles waged daily, hidden from the grand narratives of history, yet essential to understanding life in Victorian London. Here, survival is not only about avoiding sickness or hunger, it is about asserting a small claim over one's own body, crafting moments of dignity amid a world dominated by filth, disease, and danger. In these rituals, one glimpses the interplay of fear, knowledge, and adaptation. The teeth, vulnerable and persistent, the hair, unruly and fragrant with risk, the hands, careful and worn, each element carries the imprint of a society learning, stumbling, and enduring. And for those who lived these mornings, the body itself became both battlefield and sanctuary, a canvas on which daily resilience was quietly inscribed. As the day advances and the morning haze gives way to muted sunlight, attention turns to the garments that drape the bodies of Londoners, and to the rituals by which they are kept clean, or at least, kept from complete decay. Clothing is more than mere fabric. It is protection, identity, and survival. In the mid-19th century, it is also labor, endurance, and ritual, a daily testament to human resilience against the omnipresent filth of the city. Laundry is a slow, relentless act, one that demands patience, strength, and ingenuity. The poor do not possess the luxury of modern washing machines, of warm, flowing water, or of detergents engineered to cleanse without effort. Instead, they use wooden washboards, large basins of heated water, and hard, often homemade soap. Clothes are soaked, scrubbed with rigid hands until the skin of the fingers reddens and cracks, then rinsed and wrung, and sometimes even soaked in stale urine, a traditional method believed to bleach fabric in the absence of chemical alternatives. The stench is sharp, the labor exhausting, yet each garment carefully cleaned represents a small triumph over the disorder that dominates the streets outside. In crowded tenements, laundry is not a solitary act. Women and children gather, huddled over basins, exchanging hushed words, sharing the labor of a day. Steam rises from hot water, curling into the damp air, merging with the sense of coal fires and yesterday's meals. Hands move in rhythmic motion, pressing and scrubbing, wringing and hanging. Lines of damp clothing snake through rooms, draped over chairs, across railings, through narrow hallways. Each shirt, each skirt, each threadbare coat is a statement. We endure, we persist, we fight invisibly against the city's relentless grime. But clothing care is not only about hygiene. It is about respectability, a reflection of social status and moral propriety. Even the poorest strive to present themselves as clean and orderly. Buttons are sewn carefully, hems straightened, collars pressed over a hot pan or board. The wealthy, meanwhile, possess servants dedicated to laundering garments, starching, ironing, and perfuming, transforming each piece of clothing into a symbol of refinement. Yet both rich and poor share the same challenge. London itself conspires against them. Streets are rivers of waste. Coal dust settles on fabrics as quickly as they are cleaned. Rain brings mud and sewage, undoing hours of labor in moments. Clothes are also a record of adaptation. Heavy fabrics guard against damp, hats shield faces from soot-laden air, boots endure the relentless muck of cobblestone streets. Layer upon layer, garment upon garment, the people of Victorian London armor themselves, not only against cold and weather, but against the invisible threat of disease. Each garment, meticulously cared for within the constraints of limited resources, is a tiny act of defiance, a whisper of control in a city dominated by chaos and decay. And yet, despite the hardship, there is artistry and care embedded in the process. A child's small pinafore may be adorned with a hand-sewn patch, a subtle gesture of pride. A shirt may be scented lightly with herbs, the faintest perfume carried through the day. Even the act of hanging laundry in the narrow light of a tenement becomes a ritual, a meditation, a slow dance with time itself, acknowledging both the limits and the possibilities of human endurance. The labor of laundry reminds us that survival is never merely passive. It is not simply about avoiding disease or discomfort, it is about asserting a claim to dignity, to order, to beauty, however small, however fleeting. In the folding, the scrubbing, the washing, the hanging, lives are preserved, identities maintained, hope nurtured. And as the garments dry, stiff with effort and faintly scented with soap, a quiet triumph emerges. A reminder that even in a city overwhelmed by filth, even in a society still learning the principles of hygiene and public health, human beings persist with grace, ingenuity, and courage. Laundry, in Victorian London, is not mere chore, it is an intimate struggle against entropy itself. Each garment cleaned is a rebellion against the smell, the grime, the stagnation of life in the streets. Each patch sewn, each shirt folded, each pinafore aired in the damp morning light, becomes a small act of mastery, a meditation upon endurance, a testimony to the human spirit's desire to leave a mark of care, even amid overwhelming disorder. Beyond the walls of tenements, beyond the fragile privacy of cramped rooms, London streets tell a story of human endurance and the relentless presence of decay. Cobbled lanes, slick with rain and mud, wind between buildings blackened by coal smoke. Horse-drawn carriages clop along uneven stones, their hooves stirring puddles mixed with refuse, urine, and remnants of meals long past. The air is thick with a miasma, a dense, invisible cloud of odor that clings to hair, clothing, and skin. Every inhalation carries with it both the weight of the city and the subtle threat of disease. Human waste, thrown casually into gutters, drains, and open sewers, finds its way swiftly into the Thames. Garbage piles up along streets, uncollected, fermenting in the damp air, mingling with the filth of countless animals and humans alike. The river itself, dark and sluggish, is both lifeline and hazard, carrying drinking water to the very mouths it threatens to poison. Here, illness thrives unseen, cholera, typhoid, and dysentery, cruel and invisible, moving silently from one household to another, leaving no distinction between rich or poor, though the poor suffer most. And then, in the summer of 1858, the stench becomes unbearable. The Great Stink, as it is called, descends upon the city. The Thames, swollen with human waste and industrial runoff, emanates a heat-soaked, suffocating odor. Even the walls of Parliament cannot contain it. Lawmakers retreat, desperate for relief, fanning the air, attempting to shield themselves from the pungent, omnipresent stench. The crisis becomes impossible to ignore, forcing action that had been delayed for decades. Into this chaos steps Joseph Bazalgette, a man of vision, of calculation, and of determination. His plan, a monumental system of sewers, engineered to carry waste far from the city, to channel water and filth alike into controlled pathways, transforming the Thames from a river of death into a conduit of order. Pipes, tunnels, pumping stations, mechanisms of human ingenuity and foresight, begin to weave their way beneath the streets, slowly, deliberately, methodically. Over years, the city's filth is corralled, disease begins to retreat, and London breathes, for the first time in centuries, a cleaner, safer air. Yet even before Bazalgette's interventions, life in these streets is a study in adaptation. Children learn to step lightly, avoiding puddles thick with mud and waste. Street vendors ply their trade amidst chaos, balancing trays of food over slippery stones. Horses are cleaned as best as possible, their hooves and coats combed and brushed to reduce the spread of muck. Citizens develop an almost instinctive knowledge of where to walk, where to touch, where to linger, and where to avoid. Survival is as much about navigation as it is about endurance. The sights, the sounds, the smells, London overwhelms the senses. Smoke curls from countless chimneys, mixing with the stench of refuse. Screams of market sellers, clatter of carts, chatter of pedestrians, and the occasional call of a street vendor form a constant, uneasy symphony. And yet, within this overwhelming mess, life persists. Families eat, work, play. Children chase one another through alleys, oblivious or resigned to the ever-present filth. Business continues, commerce continues, human persistence continues. There is a lesson here, whispered through the odors and chaos, that civilization is never merely the sum of its streets, its buildings, or its laws. Civilization is also the quiet, unyielding effort of people to maintain dignity, to navigate danger, to find moments of beauty and order amid chaos. The Great Stink is horror and opportunity intertwined, a vivid reminder that neglect of public health carries consequences, and that human ingenuity, when marshaled, can transform even the most overwhelming filth into a foundation for progress. And so, as the Thames carries away the city's waste, as Bazalgette's pipes snake silently beneath the streets, London slowly learns a new rhythm, the rhythm of sanitation, of order, of survival intertwined with foresight. The city endures, the people endure, and through the stench and chaos, hope quietly emerges. Amidst the filth of the streets, amidst the shadow of the Great Stink, the question of sustenance becomes paramount. In Victorian London, food is never simple, it is never guaranteed. It is a daily negotiation with decay, scarcity, and the ever-present risk of contamination. The markets, teeming with life, are also teeming with peril. Fresh vegetables and fruits, when available, are often damp, bruised, or partially rotting. Meat is salted, smoked, or pickled, a desperate attempt to prolong life before spoilage claims it. Yet even these efforts cannot guarantee safety. The rich may afford fresh cuts, but the poor rely on cheaper portions, exposed to both disease and adulteration. Water, the most basic necessity, is treacherous. Drawn from the Thames or from shallow wells tainted by runoff and sewage, it carries invisible threats. Cholera, typhoid, dysentery, diseases that strike without warning, ride on each sip, unseen but deadly. And so, the people adapt. Beer and wine, though weak, become safer companions. Their fermentation kills some germs, and their bitter warmth masks the taste of contamination. It is a compromise, a survival strategy born not of indulgence but of necessity. In kitchens and street stalls, the battle against spoilage is relentless. Food is boiled, roasted, or stewed to destroy pathogens as best as possible. Salted hams, pickled vegetables, preserved fruits, they are the lifelines of those without iceboxes, without refrigeration, without the modern comforts of cold storage. Vendors mix and mingle, some with integrity, some with desperation, sometimes adding chalk, alum, or even more harmful substances to stretch limited supplies. Consumers learn caution through bitter experience, tasting and testing before purchase, trusting intuition as much as sight. Workers, returning from streets laden with soot and filth, eat quickly, often with unwashed hands, sometimes from shared bowls or communal plates. Each meal carries risk, each bite a negotiation with potential illness. Yet, amid this danger, there are rituals, small gestures of care that persist even in poverty. A mother washes a child's hands before the first bite. A shopkeeper scrapes the grime from vegetables before cooking. Even in the most difficult circumstances, humans insist on small acts of cleanliness, of habit, of ritual. Meals, too, are infused with social meaning. To sit at a table, however modest, is to assert identity, morality, and dignity. To share bread and broth is to claim resilience in a world dominated by scarcity and contamination. Food becomes more than sustenance. It becomes a small assertion of order, a reclaiming of normalcy, a quiet rebellion against the disorder outside. And yet, even as people adapt, they remain vulnerable. Disease is a constant companion, lurking in the water, in the air, in the very hands that carry nourishment. Those who survive do so through intuition, through small innovations, through centuries of learned habits passed quietly from parent to child. Boiling water, choosing fermented drinks, washing utensils, peeling skins, each action is a measure of survival, a moment where human ingenuity confronts an environment designed by circumstance to challenge life at every turn. Through this, the resilience of the Victorian people becomes clear. Even in the absence of modern knowledge, even in the shadow of filth and disease, humans find ways to endure. They learn, they adapt, they persist. And it is in these ordinary, daily acts of care, of selection, of small hygiene rituals, that life continues, fragile but unyielding, in a city whose grandeur is shadowed by its ever-present filth. Beyond the streets, beyond the food, beyond the filth that clings to every corner of London, hygiene becomes more than survival. It becomes a symbol, a measure of morality, a reflection of social status, a quiet assertion of place in a world sharply divided between wealth and poverty. In Victorian society, cleanliness is not simply a matter of health. It is a statement, an identity, a moral imperative. For the poor, this ideal is a burden as much as it is aspiration. Water is scarce, soap is precious, clothing is limited, and time is consumed by labor, often leaving little space for the careful rituals of washing and grooming demanded by society. Yet even in these constraints, people strive. A mother brushes a child's hair, smooths it with care, and presses the thin fabric of clothing into something resembling dignity. She knows that appearance carries meaning beyond comfort. It signals to neighbors, to employers, to strangers, that she and her family are respectable, that they are worthy, that they are human. For the wealthier classes, the pursuit of cleanliness is both easier and more elaborate, yet equally fraught with paradox. Servants bathe and dress their masters and mistresses, applying scented oils and powders, brushing, combing, and polishing each detail of hair, skin, and nails. Elaborate morning routines take hours. Perfumed washes, careful dressing, meticulous application of beauty powders, and the removal of sweat and grime from the body. Lead-based cosmetics and toxic dyes are applied without knowledge of the harm they cause, a silent risk undertaken for the sake of decorum and appearance. Here, hygiene is intertwined with virtue. A clean body, a well-groomed appearance, and neatly pressed clothing signify morality, self-discipline, and social order. Dirt and disarray, on the other hand, are associated with vice, laziness, and disorder, a reflection of character in a society eager to judge. And yet, even the rich are constrained by the limitations of contemporary science. Baths are infrequent. Teeth, though sometimes attended by professional dentists, remain vulnerable to decay and pain. Hair, washed with vinegar or eggs, carries its own odors and oils despite careful attention. Morality is expressed through cleanliness, but cleanliness is never complete, never absolute, and often precarious. The pressure is relentless. For women, it is compounded by beauty regimens that demand constant labor, the whitening of skin with powders containing lead, the curling of hair with heat and chemical solutions, the shaping of nails and the arrangement of clothing into ever more elaborate patterns. Men, too, are judged, though differently. Clean-shaven faces, polished boots, and carefully maintained coats speak to respectability and competence. In every household, in every street, in every glance, the state of the body communicates social position, ethical standing, and adherence to societal norms. And yet, amid this rigidity, human resilience shines. The poor improvise. They wash where water is available, comb hair with frayed combs, patch clothing, and cultivate dignity through small gestures of care. The rich, too, endure hidden discomforts, the subtle suffering caused by toxic powders, long hours, and rigid routines. Across every class, hygiene becomes both a challenge and a means of asserting selfhood, a quiet daily negotiation between the constraints of the body, the environment, and society itself. In this landscape, the body is never merely biological. It is social, moral, and cultural. Every scrub, every brush, every rinse becomes a statement. I am clean. I am disciplined. I am worthy. And in a city layered with filth, smoke, and disease, such statements are more than symbolic. They are affirmations of survival, resilience, and the human spirit's insistence on order amid chaos. Victorian hygiene, therefore, is a mirror. It reflects the fears, aspirations, and ingenuity of a society confronting filth, disease, and inequality. It reveals the interplay of knowledge and ignorance, of adaptation and ritual, of status and morality. and in its rituals, its labors, and its compromises, we glimpse not just a history of cleanliness, but a history of humanity itself, struggling, striving, and persisting in the face of adversity. In the heart of Victorian London, beyond the streets, beyond the kitchens, beyond the careful rituals of hygiene and grooming, another battle unfolds, a quieter, yet no less urgent struggle against the invisible forces of illness. Medicine, as it is practiced in this era, is a mixture of hope, fear, and uncertainty, guided by theories that only partially illuminate the causes of disease. The prevailing belief, known as the miasma theory, dictates that foul odors, decay, and pollution are the primary agents of sickness. Physicians and citizens alike inhale the heavy air, swaddle themselves in perfumes, and burn incense or smoke in the hope of purifying the environment. The stench of filth is treated not merely as discomfort, but as moral and medical peril. Yet the truth, hidden from them, lies not in the odor, but in the invisible organisms carried in water, food, and bodily contact, harbingers of cholera, typhoid, and countless other afflictions. Doctors, often respected and yet limited in knowledge, wield remedies both desperate and dangerous. Mercury, opium, and arsenic find their way into medicines, their toxicity misunderstood, their effects feared and revered alike. Surgery is a brutal ordeal, anesthesia is rare, sterilization unknown. Patients endure procedures that are as frightening as they are painful, and survival often depends as much on resilience as on any skill of the physician. Hospitals, intended as sanctuaries of healing, are often places of risk. They are crowded, poorly ventilated, and teeming with infection. The concept of antiseptics is in its infancy, and germs remain invisible specters, unknown and undetected. Even the wealthy, with access to private care, cannot entirely escape the dangers of ignorance, as remedies may soothe one symptom while worsening another. Yet, amid this uncertainty, human perseverance persists. Mothers care for sick children with herbal remedies, warm compresses, and gentle attention. Families nurse the ailing with patience, learning through observation and experience which treatments bring relief and which bring suffering. Streets and alleys are alive not only with commerce, labor, and filth, but with the quiet, determined acts of caregiving, of ingenuity, and of hope. The gap between rich and poor is evident here too. Wealth allows access to physicians, private rooms, and better food, but does not guarantee immunity from disease. Poverty compounds vulnerability, forcing reliance on home remedies, untrained practitioners, and contaminated water and food. In every home, the struggle is both physical and moral, to care, to endure, and to survive in a world where medical knowledge is partial and dangers abound at every turn. And yet, the era is not without progress. Observant minds, like that of John Snow, begin to challenge the orthodoxy. Snow's investigations into cholera link illness not to foul smells, but to contaminated water, a revelation ignored by many yet laying the foundation for modern epidemiology. Such breakthroughs are slow, tentative, and often resisted, but they mark the beginning of a transformation, a shift from fear and guesswork toward evidence, observation, and scientific understanding. In the quiet moments of Victorian homes, in the dimly lit hospital wards, in the bustling streets where illness spreads unseen, the struggle continues. Medicine is both a balm and a burden, a source of hope and a reflection of society's limitations. It is here, in the delicate balance between knowledge and ignorance, risk and care, that the human spirit demonstrates its most profound resilience. To endure disease, to survive treatment, to care for the sick amid uncertainty, is to participate in a quiet heroism, invisible yet vital, shaping lives in ways both intimate and enduring. In reflecting upon this era, we see that the challenges of Victorian medicine were not merely technical, they were deeply human. They reveal the interplay of fear, ingenuity, adaptation, and perseverance. They remind us that every advancement in public health, every innovation in medical science, builds upon centuries of struggle, observation, and courage. And in understanding their world, we gain insight not only into history, but into the enduring capacity of humanity to confront the unknown, to care for one another, and to persist even when answers are elusive and dangers unseen. In the quiet corners of Victorian homes, in the private spaces hidden from the eyes of society, women navigate an intimate landscape of ritual, endurance, and resilience. Hygiene, for them, is intertwined with both survival and expectation, a daily negotiation between bodily needs, social pressures, and limited knowledge. Menstrual hygiene, rudimentary and often invisible, defines much of a woman's experience. Cloths, folded and washed repeatedly, serve as protection, yet they bring discomfort, odor, and the constant labor of cleaning. Privacy is limited, space is scarce. Women manage as best they can, employing small acts of ingenuity, soaking, boiling, sun-drying, balancing physical necessity with the ever-present gaze of social judgment. Illness, infection, and pain are constant threats, yet quiet adaptation becomes a form of mastery, a means of claiming control over a body that society often treats as fragile or shameful. Beauty, too, is a ritual fraught with paradox. The standards of the time demand pale, flawless skin, elaborately arranged hair, and delicate features shaped by powders, creams, and dyes. Lead, arsenic, and mercury, materials toxic beyond comprehension, become tools of adornment, applied with care and reverence. Women accept risks silently, driven by societal expectation, fear of judgment, and the desire to assert status, virtue, and personal identity. Their hands, delicate yet persistent, smooth powders over cheeks, curl hair with heated tools, and braid strands into intricate arrangements, a choreography of endurance performed daily. Bathing, when it occurs, is cautious and infrequent. Water, believed to weaken the body if overused, is sparingly applied, sometimes only to the face, hands, and feet. The rest of the body relies on powders, perfumes, and careful layering of clothing to mask the natural odors of sweat, labor, and heat. Women navigate this balance between appearance and reality, masking vulnerability with ritual, crafting a personal armor of scent, texture, and patience. Even in wealthier homes, where servants provide assistance, the rituals are laborious. Baths require preparation of water, heat, and towels. Powders are measured and applied, hair arranged with meticulous attention. The danger of toxic substances remains, the awareness of risk absent or incomplete. Yet each ritual, whether in modest or grand homes, reflects resilience, the determination to meet the expectations of society while asserting control over the self, however constrained by circumstance. Through these intimate acts, a subtle defiance emerges. Women shape their bodies and appearances in ways that express both conformity and creativity. They manage the limitations imposed by society, by knowledge, and by the environment, turning daily care into an act of survival and dignity. In the folding of cloths, the careful washing of hands, the smoothing of hair, and the application of powders, lives are sustained, identity is preserved, and endurance is quietly celebrated. Victorian hygiene, for women, is therefore more than cleanliness. It is a negotiation with danger, an assertion of identity, and a meditation upon resilience. The risks of illness, the labor of ritual, and the pressures of society converge in daily routines that are as delicate as they are demanding. And through this convergence, we glimpse the strength, ingenuity, and persistence of those who navigated their world with care, courage, and quiet determination, leaving a subtle, yet enduring, imprint on the fabric of history. In the sprawling neighborhoods of Victorian London, access to water is a privilege, not a guarantee. For many, private bathing is a rare luxury, a weekly or even monthly indulgence. The majority rely on small basins, sponge baths, or quick washes of hands, face, and feet, conserving water and energy while attempting to stave off the discomfort of dirt and odor. Public bathhouses emerge as oases of hygiene, places where the impoverished can, for a small fee, immerse themselves in warmth and water, if only briefly, and reclaim a fragment of dignity in a city that often denies it. These bathhouses are more than physical spaces. They are symbols of civic responsibility, human ingenuity, and the slow march towards societal progress. Steam rises from tubs and showers, curling into dimly lit rooms, mingling with the faint scent of soap. Patrons move quietly, performing rituals of cleansing that are both practical and meditative, the rhythm of water on skin offering relief from the constant struggle of street grime and daily labor. Yet the limitations are stark. Long lines, overcrowded rooms, and insufficient facilities temper the relief that bathing brings. Water, precious and limited, is carefully rationed, and privacy is often compromised. Hygiene becomes a negotiation between necessity and availability, between the desire for cleanliness and the reality of a city struggling to provide basic infrastructure to all its residents. Behind these small acts of personal care lies the larger narrative of public health. The Victorian era is a time of awakening, when city planners, engineers, and reformers begin to recognize the profound connection between sanitation, water supply, and disease. Sewers, reservoirs, and public washhouses are conceived not merely as conveniences, but as essential instruments in the fight against epidemics. Each pipe laid, each bathhouse opened, represents a triumph of foresight over neglect, of human ingenuity over the inertia of centuries. In this context, bathing is more than cleanliness. It is resistance, adaptation, and hope. Each person who enters a public bathhouse participates in a quiet revolution, asserting control over the body, the environment, and, in small measure, fate itself. Soap, water, and warmth become instruments of resilience, of dignity preserved, of health cautiously nurtured. Even as infrastructure improves, the rituals of daily care remain vital. Families continue to wash with limited water at home, to scrub clothes in basins, to rinse and fold garments with painstaking care. Public bathhouses complement these efforts, not replace them, offering moments of relief, teaching, and modest pleasure in an otherwise demanding and unclean world. Through these spaces and practices, we witness the interplay of human determination, technological innovation, and societal change. The struggle for cleanliness is not merely personal, it is civic, moral, and deeply human. Each drop of water, each careful scrub of skin, each basin filled and emptied, is a meditation upon survival, dignity, and the possibilities that emerge when society chooses to act in service of its people. In reflecting upon these modest yet profound efforts, we gain a deeper understanding of resilience. We see how individuals and communities adapt, innovate, and persist even when resources are scarce and dangers abound. The public bathhouse becomes both a sanctuary and a testament, a place where the human body and spirit are renewed, quietly and with intention, amidst the enduring challenges of a city slowly learning the value of cleanliness, infrastructure, and care. In the heart of Victorian London, nourishment is never certain. The markets, teeming with color, noise, and life, also conceal danger. Without refrigeration, without strict oversight, without modern methods of preservation, food spoils quickly. Milk sours within hours. Meat ferments in the heat, even when salted or smoked. Vegetables wilt and rot, fruits bruise and decay, and bread grows stale or moldy before it can be consumed. Each bite carries risk, each meal is a negotiation with the invisible forces of decay. Vendors, constrained by economics and survival, sometimes resort to adulteration. Chalk is added to flour, alum to bread, even lead to candies, all to improve appearance, texture, or shelf life. Honey may be diluted, wine watered, and milk stretched with water or starch. Buyers, in turn, develop instincts honed by experience. They squeeze, sniff, taste, and test, learning to discern freshness and avoid the poisons of well-intentioned fraud or simple desperation. Despite these hazards, adaptation emerges as a quiet art. The wealthy can afford fresh meat and vegetables, the services of cooks and preservers, and the luxury of frequent meals. The poor rely on ingenuity, boiling water, roasting or stewing meat to remove pathogens, fermenting beverages to render water safer, soaking grains, or cooking vegetables for longer hours. Each method is an improvised shield, a defense against the natural and human threats intertwined with sustenance. Workers returning from long days in factories or markets eat quickly, often outdoors or in communal spaces, their hands darkened by soot, their clothing streaked with grime. Meals are hurried, shared, and imperfect, yet they are sustenance, both physical and emotional, a reprieve from toil. Children gather around small tables, observing the rituals of cooking, tasting, and eating, learning both survival and caution. The smell of roasted meat, the warmth of porridge, the tang of fermented ale, these are markers of adaptation, of life persisting amid uncertainty. In homes, mothers perform delicate calculations. They assess which foods can be safely stored, which must be consumed immediately, and which must be treated with care, boiled, or washed repeatedly. Preservation becomes a skill, a quiet daily exercise of foresight and care, balancing the needs of the body with the limitations of the environment. Each act of cooking, cleaning, and preparing is a lesson in patience and vigilance. The dangers are constant, yet so too is human ingenuity. Bread, once stale, may be softened in water or milk. Meat, once salted, may be rinsed or boiled. Vegetables, once wilted, may be transformed into soups or stews. Fermentation, pickling, and smoking become both survival techniques and culinary traditions. In every kitchen, in every stall, in every home, humans negotiate the tension between hazard and nourishment, turning scarcity into strategy, decay into sustenance. This delicate interplay of danger and adaptation, of risk and resourcefulness, is emblematic of Victorian life. It is a life lived in tension with the elements, with knowledge limited, with science slowly emerging to illuminate the unseen hazards of daily existence. Each meal becomes a quiet triumph, a testament to human resilience, and a reflection of the persistence required to endure in a city both vibrant and perilous. Even amidst spoilage and fraud, the act of eating is an affirmation of life. The preparation, the sharing, the adaptation, all become rituals of survival, subtle expressions of care, and quiet exercises in mastery over circumstance. Through these actions, Victorian Londoners navigate their world, negotiating the risks and rewards of sustenance with patience, intelligence, and enduring human determination. In Victorian London, water is both essential and treacherous. Rivers, wells, and pumps, sources of life, also carry invisible threats. The Thames, the lifeblood of the city, is also a repository of human waste, industrial runoff, and the detritus of daily life. Each sip, each pour, each bucket drawn is a negotiation with danger, for it is in this water that cholera, typhoid, and other deadly diseases find their pathway. For centuries, the miasma theory holds sway, convincing citizens and doctors alike that disease is born by foul smells, by the stench of decay, by the very air itself. Perfumes, incense, and smoke are employed as shields, rituals of prevention that offer comfort but little protection. People flee odors, avoid certain streets, and cover their mouths, believing that cleanliness of the air can substitute for cleanliness of the water they consume. Amidst this uncertainty, a quiet revolution begins. John Snow, a physician of observation and courage, traces the invisible currents of disease not through smell, but through water. He studies patterns of cholera outbreaks, mapping the homes and deaths of those affected. His investigations lead to the Broad Street Pump, a humble source of drinking water that becomes the epicenter of his discovery. Snow's work challenges the foundations of belief. He shows, painstakingly, that cholera is transmitted through contaminated water, not foul air. His conclusions are met with skepticism and resistance, yet they plant seeds of understanding that will transform public health. Water, once a hidden vector of disease, becomes a focus of intervention, study, and engineering. Pumps are removed, wells are protected, and slowly, knowledge replaces fear. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens continue their adaptations. Boiling water, drinking weak beer or ale, filtering through cloth, or relying on fountains known to be cleaner becomes common practice. These small acts, born of observation, tradition, and necessity, form the first lines of defense against invisible threats. They are rituals of survival, quiet exercises in prudence, and embodiments of resilience. The impact of this understanding ripples outward. Urban planning, sanitation, and infrastructure begin to align with knowledge. Sewers are built, waste is diverted from drinking sources, and the connection between environmental health and human life becomes increasingly clear. The lessons of cholera shape the city, and in turn, the city shapes the practices of its citizens. In every household, in every alley, in every marketplace, water becomes both a medium of life and a symbol of vigilance. Families learn to treat it carefully, to respect its power, and to integrate this respect into daily routines. Children absorb lessons through observation, imitating the caution and care of parents. Shops and public spaces adapt as understanding grows and the first measures of regulation emerge. Through the lens of water, we see the intersection of science, society, and survival. Victorian London, teeming with life and shadowed by disease, demonstrates both the vulnerability and resilience of humanity. And in the meticulous mapping, careful observation, and small adaptations of its people, we witness the dawn of modern public health, a quiet triumph that emerges not through sudden change, but through patience, study, and the enduring courage to question what was once assumed. In the summer of 1858, London confronts an invisible enemy made tangible by an overwhelming assault on the senses. The Thames, swollen with waste and filth, releases a stench so pervasive that it seeps into homes, streets, and even the chambers of Parliament itself. The Great Stink, as it comes to be known, is not merely an olfactory assault. It is a vivid manifestation of the city's neglect, a reminder of the fragile balance between human life and urban infrastructure. Strollers along the riverbanks recoil from the smell. Markets thin, work slows, and the city is unified by discomfort, by a recognition that the rivers and sewers, once ignored, are now impossible to overlook. The stench is a messenger, carrying warnings of disease, of cholera outbreaks, and of the urgent need for intervention. It penetrates every wall, every doorway, and every nose, demanding attention, action, and innovation. It is in this crucible that Joseph Bazalgette, an engineer of vision and resolve, steps forward. His mind conceives an intricate network of sewers, intercepting the flow of human waste, diverting it from the river, and carrying it downstream to treatment and disposal. He envisions embankments along the Thames, tunnels beneath the city, and a system that will endure for generations, a monumental act of engineering that blends pragmatism with foresight, science with civic responsibility. The work is immense. Laborers dig, sweep, and tunnel beneath streets crowded with buildings, horses, and pedestrians. Brick by brick, arch by arch, the sewers take shape. Water flows more freely, and the stench begins to recede, though slowly, as the city adapts to its new circulation of waste and cleanliness. The project does more than remove odors. It transforms the health of London, reducing the frequency and intensity of cholera outbreaks, improving quality of life, and laying the foundations for modern urban sanitation. Yet Bazalgette's work is not simply technical. It is social, political, and symbolic. It reflects an acknowledgement that health is collective, that infrastructure is moral, and that the city itself must be a participant in the well-being of its inhabitants. Each brick laid, each tunnel bored, each pipe installed represents a negotiation between human ingenuity and natural forces, between the limits of knowledge and the necessities of life. As the sewers open, and as the river gradually clears, citizens begin to perceive the invisible benefits of engineering. Streets feel cleaner, smells are less oppressive, water is safer, and the city breathes with a new rhythm. Public health, once tenuous and uncertain, gains a tangible ally in infrastructure. Hygiene, long constrained by limited access and understanding, now receives the support of design, planning, and foresight. In reflecting upon the Great Stink and its aftermath, we see more than engineering triumph. We see a society awakening to its responsibilities, a city learning to harmonize with nature, and a people adapting to the possibilities of science and planning. The stench of neglect becomes the catalyst for transformation, and London, once beleaguered by filth and disease, emerges with lessons that resonate far beyond its boundaries, a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring capacity to turn crisis into progress. As the city begins to breathe a little easier, its citizens slowly embrace the possibilities of cleanliness, weaving new habits into the fabric of daily life. Soap, once a luxury, becomes an emblem of both personal and civic hygiene. It is in the hands of mothers scrubbing clothes, of children washing their faces in morning basins, of tradesmen attempting to rid themselves of the soot and grime of laborious work. The simple act of lathering, rubbing, and rinsing takes on a new significance, a ritual that is at once practical, symbolic, and transformative. Laundry, long considered a burdensome necessity, becomes a centerpiece of domestic routine. Clothes are boiled, rinsed, and beaten against wooden boards, the air filled with the rhythmic slap of fabric meeting wood. Lines of garments stretch across courtyards and gardens, the sun and wind acting as silent partners in purification. Families, constrained by space and resources, perform these rituals with patience and care, knowing that the cleanliness of clothes is more than comfort. It is health, morality, and social respectability manifested in cotton and wool. Bathing, once irregular and cautious, becomes slightly more accessible with improved water supply and awareness. Private basins, modest tubs, and communal bathhouses allow citizens to wash hands, face, and feet, to immerse themselves in warmth, and to breathe relief into bodies long burdened by dirt, sweat, and soot. These small acts, repeated day after day, ripple outward into public health. Each wash, each scrub, each carefully folded garment represents a conscious negotiation with the forces of disease, decay, and discomfort. The streets themselves, once mere conveyors of filth, begin to reflect change. Sweepers and laborers clear refuse, gutters are managed, and nascent municipal regulations attempt to organize sanitation. The smell, while far from absent, is mitigated. The city becomes a cleaner canvas, upon which daily life can proceed with slightly less peril and slightly more dignity. Public awareness grows. Hygiene is not solely the domain of the wealthy, nor a matter of moral judgment alone. It is practical, necessary, and increasingly a shared responsibility. In homes, mothers, children, and servants orchestrate routines of cleanliness that are both pragmatic and meditative. Basins of water steam gently in morning light, soap bubbles glinting like fragile crystals. Fabric is scrubbed, rinsed, hung, and folded. Floors are swept, surfaces wiped, and garments aired. Every motion carries purpose, every repetition builds habit, and every act contributes to a slowly emerging culture of health. Even in the most modest dwellings, these rituals embody resilience. The poor, constrained by scarcity, perform acts of ingenuity, washing in smaller basins, stretching water through careful rationing, scrubbing clothes repeatedly to maximize cleanliness. They adapt, learn, and persevere, cultivating not only hygiene but patience, ingenuity, and quiet dignity. Through these practices, Victorian London slowly transforms. Soap, water, and labor converge with awareness, infrastructure, and emerging science to create a new reality. A reality in which disease is less inevitable, comfort is more attainable, and the human spirit finds room to assert itself amid the constraints of environment, knowledge, and circumstance. The act of daily cleaning becomes a meditation, a quiet assertion of control, and a testament to human persistence in the face of adversity. In Victorian London, cleanliness is never merely a matter of water, soap, or labor. It is a reflection of society itself, intertwined with morality, respectability, and social standing. To be clean is to be virtuous. To be dirty is to be suspect. Streets and homes, clothing and skin, all become symbols in an intricate social code, where the appearance of hygiene signifies character, diligence, and status. For the wealthy, hygiene is both privilege and ritual. Private bathrooms, servants, and access to fresh water allow for frequent washing, bathing, and grooming. Clothing is carefully maintained, cleaned, and replaced. Powders and perfumes mask natural odors, reinforcing an image of refinement. Yet even affluence cannot fully shield against ignorance. Rudimentary medical knowledge, toxic cosmetics, and contaminated food remind that wealth does not guarantee safety. Still, the luxury of access grants control over appearance, an ability to assert moral and social authority through visible cleanliness. For the poor, the struggle is far more intimate, physical, and precarious. Space is limited, privacy rare, and water scarce. Families perform daily acts of washing with what little they have, scraping grime, boiling clothes, and rationing water carefully. They face the constant judgment of society, measured against standards that are often unattainable. Dirt, odor, and worn clothing are read as markers of moral failing, even when they reflect circumstance rather than character. Here, hygiene is a laborious negotiation, a silent assertion of dignity in a world that equates cleanliness with worthiness. Children learn these lessons early, observing parents, neighbors, and peers. The social significance of bathing, brushing hair, and washing hands is internalized as a moral code. Education in hygiene is not merely practical, it is also cultural, a set of expectations layered upon biology, circumstance, and survival. A clean child is admired, a dirty child is corrected or scorned, and each small ritual becomes both a necessity and a performance. Even in public spaces, the disparities are evident. Bathhouses, markets, and streets reveal the interplay between class, access, and appearance. The wealthy may navigate the city without compromise, the poor maneuvering through lines, crowded facilities, and limited resources. Yet every act of care, boiling water, scrubbing garments, washing hands, represents resistance, adaptation, and resilience, subtle assertions of agency within constraining circumstances. The connection between hygiene and morality extends into work, leisure, and social interaction. Tradesmen, laborers, and domestic servants are measured by their cleanliness, shaping reputation, opportunity, and social mobility. Women's beauty rituals, children's cleanliness, and men's grooming become visible performances, constantly negotiating societal expectations and personal limitations. In this interplay, hygiene emerges as a mirror reflecting both societal values and the lived realities of daily life. Over time, these perceptions begin to influence policy and urban planning. Awareness of the relationship between environment, cleanliness, and health fosters advocacy for public bathhouses, clean water, sewage management, and educational campaigns. Social expectation, moral judgment, and practical necessity converge to shape both individual behavior and civic infrastructure, laying the groundwork for modern public health understanding. In reflecting upon the Victorian intersection of status, morality, and hygiene, we perceive a nuanced portrait of human adaptation. Each act of washing, scrubbing, and caring is both personal and social, a meditation on dignity, resilience, and responsibility. From private basins to public bathhouses, from polished floors to boiled garments, the pursuit of cleanliness becomes a quiet assertion of agency, a testament to the enduring human desire to shape life, identity, and community amidst the limitations of circumstance. In the quiet hours of Victorian homes, the simple act of caring for teeth is transformed into a laborious and often perilous ritual. Brushing, rudimentary and inconsistent, involves cloths, powders, or sticks of celery, each chosen more for tradition than efficacy. Families attempt to maintain oral hygiene, unaware of the microscopic battles waged by bacteria, plaque, and decay. Dental care, when it occurs, is harsh and unforgiving. Barbers and blacksmiths double as dentists, extracting teeth with rudimentary tools, their methods painful and unrefined. Anesthesia is rare, sterilization unheard of. Patients endure long, trembling moments of suffering as crude instruments rip teeth from gums, leaving them bleeding, swollen, and vulnerable. The faint antiseptic properties of alcohol or rudimentary ointments offer little comfort against the agony or risk of infection. Tooth decay is rampant, a common companion to diets high in sugar and carbohydrates. Families watch children suffer with cavities, abscesses, and tooth loss, offering remedies of clove oil, vinegar, or opium to dull pain. These remedies, while sometimes soothing, often carry dangers of their own, reflecting both the limits of knowledge and the improvisation born of necessity. In wealthier households, more attention is given to appearance than health. Tooth powders, brushes with bristles, and fashionable oral rinses are applied, yet the scientific understanding of germs and decay is limited. Clean teeth are prized as a reflection of refinement, social standing, and morality, rather than indicators of true dental health. Even in these homes, infections, abscesses, and pain remain constant companions, quietly shaping daily life and behavior. Children learn early to endure discomfort, to imitate the routines of parents, and to navigate a world where dental care is a mixture of ritual, expectation, and peril. Every visit to a dentist or extraction by a local tradesman carries both fear and fascination, a brush with danger wrapped in the promise of relief. The act of cleaning teeth, often brief and cautious, becomes a meditation on both health and survival, a small, persistent assertion of control over the body. Society itself slowly begins to awaken to the necessity of improved dental care. Soap, water, and hygiene awareness spread gradually. Advice columns, guides, and pamphlets teach rudimentary techniques. Yet for much of the population, suffering continues, a testament to both the resilience of families and the stark disparities in access, knowledge, and resources. Through this lens, we see more than teeth and gums. We observe patience, ingenuity, and adaptation. We witness the quiet determination to maintain dignity, health, and comfort amidst ignorance, risk, and limitation. Each careful cleaning, each painful extraction, and each makeshift remedy reflects a world negotiating the delicate balance between survival and suffering, appearance and well-being, knowledge and hazard. In the dim morning light, with brushes and powders at hand, families navigate these routines with quiet diligence, embedding resilience into the rhythm of daily life. The Victorian struggle with dental care is, in essence, a meditation on human endurance, the pursuit of comfort amidst constraint, and the persistence of hope that knowledge, one day, will illuminate even the smallest corners of life. In the quiet chambers of Victorian homes, hair becomes both canvas and ritual. Daily life, long and arduous, leaves strands weighed down with soot, dust, and oils. Washing, though desirable, is often infrequent. Families navigate the limitations of water, heat, and time, choosing instead to treat the hair with mixtures that are part preservation, part tradition, and part experiment. Eggs, vinegar, rum, and various oils become tools in the struggle for cleanliness and manageability. These homemade remedies, concocted with care, are applied with slow, deliberate motions. Fingers comb through tresses, removing tangles, distributing oils, and attempting to imbue the hair with shine, strength, and a semblance of fragrance. Yet, despite these efforts, odors linger, the scent of labor, smoke, and urban life intermingling with every home-brewed potion. Pomades, scented pastes, and waxes serve dual purposes, shaping hair into fashionable styles and masking the lingering smells of daily work. Applied with patience, massaged into roots, and combed through lengths, these substances are both aesthetic and functional, preserving hairstyles through the demands of laborious days. Hair becomes a marker of status, an indicator of care, and a symbol of personal pride amidst the challenges of urban existence. For the wealthy, access to hot water, specialized oils, and attendance allows for more frequent care. Salons emerge as spaces of refinement, where skilled hands attend to curls, braids, and elaborate arrangements. Perfumes and aromatic oils enhance the experience, creating an environment that is at once indulgent and hygienic, offering respite from the grime of the streets. For the poor, hair care is an exercise in ingenuity. Water is rationed, ingredients improvised, and routines adapted to the rhythm of daily labor. Children learn to braid, comb, and oil under the guidance of parents, their actions forming patterns of care that are as much about survival as appearance. Even when fragrance and cleanliness are limited, the act of grooming becomes a quiet assertion of control, a meditation on dignity, and a small rebellion against the hardships of life. Throughout the city, hair care intersects with health, fashion, and morality. Clean, well-kept hair signifies virtue, refinement, and attention to social norms. Neglected or matted hair may evoke judgment, highlighting disparities in resources and opportunity. Yet the rituals of grooming persist, resilient against scarcity, discomfort, and the imperfections of knowledge. In reflecting upon these practices, we see patience, creativity, and adaptation intertwined with personal identity. Hair, once merely strands of keratin, becomes a medium for human expression, care, and resilience. Each comb stroke, each application of oil or paste, each careful braid is a meditation on survival, appearance, and the enduring desire to exert order and beauty amidst the unpredictable currents of urban life. In the dim light of morning or the fading glow of evening, Victorian Londoners navigate these rituals with quiet diligence. Hair care is both necessity and art, a rhythm of repetition and reflection, a testament to human adaptability, and a symbol of the subtle, persistent ways in which people nurture body, mind, and spirit within the constraints of their world. In the quietude of Victorian homes, the rhythms of women's bodies unfold largely unseen and largely unsupported. Menstruation, a natural cycle of life, is surrounded by silence, modesty, and limited knowledge. Resources for menstrual hygiene are scarce, and what exists is rudimentary, improvised, and often uncomfortable. Cloth rags are folded, washed, and reused, becoming the primary tool for managing flow. Mothers teach daughters how to fold, secure, and care for these cloths, how to wash them carefully, and how to preserve modesty while maintaining health. Boiling water is employed when available, soaps and lye cautiously used to cleanse fabric, though often with irritation or discomfort. Each cycle demands attention, patience, and diligence, a quiet negotiation with the limits of available resources. Commercial products are rare, expensive, or rudimentary. Early pads, often stiff and unyielding, are a contrast to the comfort of modern alternatives. Knowledge of infection, hygiene, and bodily care is limited, and women must rely on observation, intuition, and experience to navigate their health. Pain, cramping, and irregularity are endured with fortitude, often in silence, as the household continues its daily labors. The moral expectations of society further shape this intimate domain. Cleanliness is closely tied to virtue, discretion, and femininity. Women are expected to maintain composure, appearance, and decorum even amid the physical challenges of menstruation. This cultural framing adds pressure to an already taxing cycle, intertwining health, social expectation, and personal resilience in ways both subtle and profound. Despite these limitations, women adapt. Routines emerge: discreet washing, careful folding of cloths, use of natural materials for comfort, and the observance of rest when possible. Education passes quietly from mother to daughter, from elder to younger, a shared knowledge rooted in survival, respect, and care. Communities of women form invisible networks of support, advice, and guidance, sustaining each other through cycles that are universal yet uniquely experienced. In reflecting upon these practices, we see the intersection of biology, culture, and resilience. Each carefully washed cloth, each improvised solution, each moment of quiet reflection embodies the persistence of human adaptability. Women navigate their bodies and the social expectations surrounding them with patience, creativity, and courage. Their daily actions, largely invisible to the broader world, are a meditation on endurance, dignity, and the subtle assertion of control over personal health amidst limited knowledge. Through the lens of Victorian menstrual hygiene, we observe both vulnerability and strength. Women manage with what they have, improvise where needed, and cultivate habits that sustain health and comfort. These acts, small and intimate, ripple outward into broader awareness of hygiene, health, and the necessity of adapting practices to the constraints of time, place, and society. In each cycle, there is care, there is wisdom, and there is an enduring testament to human resilience. In the bustling streets and crowded homes of Victorian London, food is a constant negotiation between necessity and peril. Refrigeration is a distant dream, and preservation relies on tradition, improvisation, and vigilance. Families confront the inevitability of spoilage with daily routines, rituals, and a keen eye for what is safe to consume. Salted, smoked, and pickled foods dominate pantries. Meats are preserved in salt or cured in smoke, vegetables pickled in vinegar, and dairy stretched carefully to prevent rapid spoilage. Every meal is a balance between taste, sustenance, and the hidden hazards that lurk in improperly stored or contaminated food. Spoiled food is a constant threat, carrying the potential for illness, discomfort, or worse. Water, too, is a source of caution. Polluted rivers, wells, and pumps create uncertainty with every sip. Drinking beer, ale, or wine often proves safer than water, though it carries its own social and health implications. Families develop adaptive habits, boiling water when possible, straining liquids through cloth, and observing subtle cues of contamination. In kitchens and markets, the senses of smell, sight, and touch become vital tools, guiding decisions that can mean the difference between health and disease. Meal preparation itself is labor-intensive and deliberate. Fires are tended, pots simmer slowly, and ingredients are scrutinized for freshness. Housewives and servants develop routines that combine practicality with care, washing hands, boiling utensils, and carefully managing leftovers. Markets are navigated with knowledge of which vendors are trustworthy, which foods are safest, and how to store or cook items to extend their usability. Every choice carries weight, every precaution reflects adaptation. Children absorb these lessons naturally, observing adults' attentiveness and caution. They learn the rhythms of cooking, the subtle signs of spoilage, and the rituals that mitigate risk. In doing so, they inherit not only practical skills but also a sense of vigilance, responsibility, and ingenuity that will guide them throughout life. Yet even amidst diligence, danger is never absent. Outbreaks of foodborne illness, contamination, and adulteration are part of daily reality. Families navigate this uncertainty with creativity. Fermenting, boiling, salting, and smoking become both methods of preservation and expressions of resilience. The preparation of meals, though often stressful, is also a meditation on care, a rhythm that unites households, and a subtle assertion of agency against environmental hazards. Through this lens, Victorian eating practices reveal a world shaped by scarcity, knowledge, and adaptation. Every meal is an exercise in observation, patience, and survival. Every preserved food, carefully stored and thoughtfully prepared, embodies ingenuity and foresight. In the daily rituals of cooking and eating, families assert control over circumstance, nurture health amidst risk, and cultivate resilience in a city where danger often lurks behind the simplest bite or sip. In the shadowed alleys and crowded streets of Victorian London, water is a source of both life and peril. Rivers, wells, and pumps, often tainted with sewage and waste, carry invisible threats. Cholera, a deadly visitor, creeps silently through the city, claiming victims without warning and leaving communities in fear, grief, and uncertainty. Families learn to navigate these dangers with caution and creativity. Boiling water becomes a protective ritual, filtering and straining a cautious act of survival. Workers, trudging through the grime of streets and workshops, often find safer respite in beer or ale, their choice a pragmatic adaptation to the contaminated environment. Mothers carefully prepare liquids for children, teaching them to drink with awareness, balancing necessity with precaution. Outbreaks of cholera reveal both the fragility and resilience of society. Streets empty, markets thin, and communities rally to care for the sick. Families isolate the afflicted as best they can, maintaining hygiene practices within cramped quarters. Soap, basins of water, and boiling utensils take on critical significance, each action a line of defense in the unseen battle against infection. Public awareness grows slowly, guided by pioneers like John Snow, who traced the source of cholera to contaminated water. Yet resistance, disbelief, and entrenched theories delay broader acceptance. The miasma theory, believing disease spreads through foul smells, dominates thinking, misguiding preventive measures and creating tension between tradition and emerging science. In response, households develop adaptive behaviors, blending observation with practical experience. Children learn which wells are safer, mothers monitor food and drink with vigilance, and workers choose routines that minimize exposure to the most dangerous sources. These daily decisions, repeated countless times, form a rhythm of survival and caution, a meditation on resilience in the face of invisible threats. Amid fear and uncertainty, human ingenuity persists. Communities improvise sanitation measures, cover cesspools, and advocate for cleaner streets. Families discover small victories: water boiled sufficiently to quench thirst without causing illness, food prepared to resist spoilage, hand-washing before meals to reduce infection. These incremental steps, though modest, ripple outward, shaping practices that slowly transform the city's relationship with disease. Through the lens of cholera and contaminated water, we witness both vulnerability and adaptability. Every careful sip, every boiled kettle, every avoided pump embodies resilience. Families assert control over circumstance, navigating danger with vigilance and patience. In the quiet repetition of these actions, we find a meditation on survival, ingenuity, and the enduring human capacity to adapt in the face of unseen threats. In the midst of Victorian London's bustling streets and dimly lit homes, medical understanding exists in a delicate, fragile balance between tradition and discovery. For decades, the miasma theory dominates thought, convincing citizens and physicians alike that disease rises from foul odors, damp air, and stagnant filth. Bad smells, they believe, are not merely unpleasant, they are deadly. Perfumes, burning herbs, and fragrant powders are deployed throughout homes and streets, thought to purify the environment and protect the body from invisible killers. Doctors attend patients with a mixture of ritual, hope, and uncertainty. Treatments are often harsh, including mercury, opium, and other substances that may harm as much as heal. Surgery proceeds without anesthesia or sterilization, a brutal ordeal endured with courage and trembling patience. In every act of care, there is both intention and risk, a reflection of a society grappling with limited knowledge yet striving for relief. Yet, amid the constraints of miasma thinking, glimmers of scientific observation begin to emerge. Pioneers such as John Snow, with careful mapping of cholera cases and analysis of water sources, challenge entrenched beliefs. Evidence accumulates, slowly shifting perception, highlighting that disease may travel not through foul air alone but through contaminated water and other invisible vectors. These discoveries, often resisted, mark the first steps toward a modern understanding of hygiene, public health, and prevention. Households adapt incrementally, blending intuition, tradition, and emerging knowledge. Boiling water, washing hands, scrubbing utensils, and careful food preparation become practical measures to reduce illness. Soap, once merely a luxury or moral symbol, gains new significance as a tool of protection, linking cleanliness with survival rather than virtue alone. Families internalize lessons learned from observation and experience, transforming daily routines into subtle acts of defense against disease. Public awareness evolves as well. Advocates, reformers, and physicians begin to shape policy, influencing sanitation infrastructure, water supply, and urban planning. Streets are swept, refuse is managed, and the earliest public bathhouses are constructed. Scientific observation, slowly integrated into civic life, begins to reshape the urban landscape, turning knowledge into action and uncertainty into precaution. In reflecting upon this transitional period, we see the tension between fear, tradition, and discovery. Each household, each family, navigates a world of imperfect knowledge, improvising protective measures while striving for comfort, dignity, and health. Soap, boiling water, ventilation, and careful observation become tools not only of survival but of quiet empowerment, allowing ordinary citizens to assert agency amidst unseen threats. The Victorian struggle with disease, grounded in miasma theory yet gradually enlightened by scientific insight, becomes a meditation on patience, observation, and adaptation. Through the lens of emerging hygiene, we observe the human capacity to learn, to innovate, and to transform understanding into practice. Every ritual, every precaution, and every measured response reflects resilience and the persistent pursuit of safety and well-being in a world poised between ignorance and discovery. In the summer of 1858, London's Thames River, long a repository of human waste, refuse, and industrial runoff, becomes an unbearable force of nature. The stench is overwhelming, rising from the water in waves of heat and decay. Parliament itself is affected, the odor infiltrates chambers, forcing politicians to retreat, windows shuttered, fans waving futilely against the advancing foulness. The city, a throbbing heart of trade, labor, and life, is confronted by the tangible consequences of neglect. Citizens, both rich and poor, feel the weight of the river's corruption. Streets near the Thames are saturated with filth, markets reek of waste mingled with food, the air is thick with the evidence of centuries of improper sanitation. Children play cautiously near puddles, mothers hurry past stagnant pools, and workers navigate alleyways with awareness of contamination at every turn. The stench is more than discomfort, it is a warning, a visceral reminder of the intimate link between environment and health. In response to this crisis, Joseph Bazalgette, a visionary civil engineer, emerges with a plan both monumental and transformative. He conceives a network of sewers designed to capture, redirect, and cleanse the flow of waste, channeling it away from the heart of the city and into treatment areas downstream. His vision combines engineering precision, foresight, and understanding of the scale required to protect a rapidly growing metropolis. Construction is laborious, requiring ingenuity, determination, and coordinated effort. Workers dig deep trenches, lay vast pipes, and overcome the constraints of narrow streets and densely built neighborhoods. Every measurement, every bend, and every connection is a testament to careful planning and an understanding of the immense responsibility borne by this new infrastructure. The effect on public health, though gradual, is profound. Cholera outbreaks diminish, the air grows cleaner, and the river, slowly, begins to carry life rather than death. Communities, long accustomed to the omnipresence of filth, adapt to the new reality. Streets are less hazardous, basements and homes become more habitable, and the city itself takes a tentative step toward modernity. Yet the project is more than bricks, pipes, and engineering marvels. It is a symbol of society's capacity to learn, to respond, and to transform knowledge into action. Bazalgette's sewers illustrate how vision, science, and labor converge to solve human crises, converting the lessons of fear, disease, and neglect into enduring progress. Reflecting on the Great Stink and its aftermath, we perceive the interwoven threads of environment, society, and human resilience. Citizens endure, adapt, and advocate. Engineers plan, construct, and innovate. History records a turning point where the tangible stench of failure catalyzes the invisible triumph of foresight. The Thames, once a symbol of peril, becomes an emblem of human ingenuity, a quiet meditation on the capacity to transform adversity into lasting improvement, and a reminder that even the foulest challenges can yield pathways to safety, health, and dignity. As Joseph Bazalgette's sewer system reshapes the physical landscape of London, its influence extends far beyond pipes and trenches. Families begin to notice subtle but profound changes in daily life. Streets once heavy with stench become passable without gagging, basements dry, and the water drawn from wells and pumps carries less danger. The city breathes more freely, and its citizens, though cautious, gain a quiet confidence in the possibility of safety. In homes, routines gradually transform. Soap, once a scarce luxury, becomes more widely available and valued not only for appearance but for health. Washing hands before meals, scrubbing cooking utensils, and maintaining clean bedding slowly shift from acts of ritual to acts of protection. Children learn these habits naturally, their daily play and chores integrating lessons in hygiene that were once foreign. The rhythm of domestic life subtly but permanently aligns with practices that safeguard the body and prevent disease. Cholera outbreaks, once devastating and frequent, diminish in both scale and intensity. Typhoid, dysentery, and other waterborne illnesses gradually recede as clean water and improved sewage management become more reliable. Public confidence grows, and fear, though never entirely absent, is replaced by practical knowledge and adaptive behavior. Families navigate city life with greater assurance, learning to blend caution with participation in social, economic, and cultural activities. Medical understanding continues to evolve. Germ theory begins to supplant miasma thinking, guiding physicians and citizens alike toward effective preventive measures. Clean water, boiling liquids, proper waste disposal, and soap are now recognized as fundamental to survival and well-being. These lessons, embedded in the daily rhythm of households, schools, and public institutions, lay the foundation for modern hygiene and public health. Society itself gradually embraces the moral and civic dimensions of cleanliness. Public bathhouses, laundry facilities, and educational campaigns emerge, teaching citizens that hygiene is not only personal but communal. Streets, markets, and workplaces become safer, reflecting a broader understanding that individual habits, civic planning, and scientific insight together shape the health of an entire population. Through these long-term impacts, the resilience, ingenuity, and adaptation of Victorian Londoners are revealed. Families who endured years of filth, fear, and illness witness the tangible results of knowledge applied to infrastructure, policy, and daily practice. The city transforms slowly but irrevocably, and in this transformation, the invisible threads of public health, clean water, sanitation, education, and hygiene intertwine with human experience, shaping the rhythms of life for generations to come. In reflecting on this period, we see more than streets, pipes, and soap. We see the enduring human capacity to observe, adapt, and improve. We see a society learning from hardship, responding to crisis, and nurturing practices that protect life. And we see the quiet meditation of daily routines, each hand washed, each basin scrubbed, each street cleared, forming a legacy of dignity, safety, and resilience. The story of sanitation reform is, ultimately, a story of hope, of knowledge triumphing over ignorance, planning over neglect, and care over indifference. It reminds us that progress is often gradual, yet its effects ripple through time, altering the course of daily life, public health, and human possibility, one small act of hygiene at a time. In Victorian London, the act of cleanliness extends beyond mere survival. It becomes a mirror reflecting social standing, morality, and personal dignity. Homes, routines, and appearances are deeply intertwined with class, wealth, and access to resources. For the wealthy, hygiene is not only attainable but often elaborate, involving specialized servants, plentiful water, and costly soaps and perfumes. For the poor, hygiene is a daily challenge, constrained by scarcity, labor, and the realities of crowded, damp living conditions. Within homes of privilege, morning rituals are measured and deliberate. Baths, when frequent, are a luxury of warmth and privacy. Attendants carefully prepare water, oils, and towels, guiding household members through a routine that cleanses both body and spirit. Teeth are brushed with concoctions of soap, chalk, or herbal pastes, while hair is combed, oiled, and arranged according to fashion. Clothing is laundered with care, pressed, and stored to reflect propriety and refinement. Every action communicates order, discipline, and a sense of cultivated virtue. Among the working classes, hygiene routines are improvisational yet intentional. Soap may be scarce, water limited, and privacy almost non-existent. Families wash what they can, hands, faces, and vital areas, while striving to maintain dignity in the midst of shared living spaces. Laundry is labor-intensive, often soaked in boiling water, ash, or improvised cleaners. Clothing may bear signs of wear, yet is scrubbed, patched, and preserved with meticulous effort. In these routines, resilience and ingenuity become the quiet hallmarks of survival. Social perception plays a significant role. A clean appearance signals respectability, moral character, and self-discipline. Conversely, grime or odor, however unavoidable, may elicit judgment or exclusion. Children absorb these lessons early, understanding that their bodies, clothing, and surroundings communicate their place in society. Hygiene is a daily negotiation between available resources and societal expectation, a subtle yet powerful expression of identity. Rituals extend beyond personal grooming. Kitchens, sleeping quarters, and common areas are maintained as carefully as circumstances allow. Sweepings, washings, and ventilation are not only practical, they are acts of care that shape the rhythm of daily life. Families develop routines that balance labor, necessity, and dignity, teaching children to navigate a world in which cleanliness is both a shield and a statement. Through these intertwined practices, Victorian households reveal the interplay between resourcefulness, social pressure, and human aspiration. Every scrubbed floor, washed hand, and neatly arranged garment represents a negotiation between reality and ideal. The persistence of these rituals, in both wealth and scarcity, underscores the universal desire for health, respect, and control over one's environment. In reflecting upon daily routines and hygiene, we see the layered nature of Victorian life, a world where survival, dignity, and societal expectation converge. It is a meditation on patience, adaptation, and resilience, where the seemingly mundane acts of washing, grooming, and maintaining the home become profound expressions of human will, ingenuity, and the quiet pursuit of order amidst the chaos of urban life. In Victorian London, the preparation and consumption of food is a delicate balance between sustenance and risk. Without refrigeration, households must rely on ingenuity, tradition, and vigilance to ensure that meals remain safe and nourishing. Salt, smoke, and vinegar become essential allies in the fight against spoilage, while careful observation and experience guide every action in kitchens and markets alike. Meat is preserved through salting, smoking, or pickling, each method chosen to extend life and prevent disease. Vegetables are pickled in vinegar or stored in cool, dark areas, while milk is boiled or stretched with water to delay souring. Leftovers are handled with care, reheated when possible, and inspected meticulously. Families develop intimate knowledge of the subtle signs that differentiate freshness from decay, trust building upon years of observation and learned experience. Markets themselves are lessons in vigilance. Vendors vary in reliability, and buyers must navigate crowded stalls with discernment. The smell, texture, and color of food guide choices, and many rely on habitual knowledge of which sellers are trustworthy. For the working classes, every coin spent carries consequence. Spoiled food threatens both health and household stability. In response, adaptive strategies emerge, boiling liquids, straining soups, and carefully washing fruits and vegetables. Beverages offer their own lessons. Water, often contaminated, is approached with caution. Beer and ale, though alcoholic, are often safer alternatives, providing hydration without the same risk of waterborne illness. Families learn to balance taste, necessity, and protection, developing practical habits that safeguard well-being even in the absence of scientific certainty. Children absorb these practices naturally. From observing their parents to participating in preparation, they learn to identify risk, preserve resources, and maintain health. Kitchens, bustling with activity and attentive care, become spaces of education as much as sustenance. Every action, stirring, boiling, storing, tasting, is part of a careful rhythm that blends vigilance with routine, adaptation with experience. Despite diligence, danger persists. Contaminated food and adulteration remain threats, and outbreaks of illness still occur. Yet the daily acts of preparation, observation, and precaution form a buffer against catastrophe, embodying resilience and ingenuity. In these routines, Victorian families assert control over circumstances largely beyond their individual power, transforming knowledge into habit and adaptation into survival. Through this lens, food safety is not merely a technical concern. It is a meditation on patience, care, and human resourcefulness. Every salted joint of meat, every boiled pot of soup, and every washed vegetable embodies the quiet ingenuity of families navigating a world fraught with unseen threats. In the careful repetition of these acts, we witness the enduring human capacity to adapt, protect, and preserve, crafting safety from uncertainty and stability from risk. In the heart of Victorian London, water is a lifeline fraught with peril. Rivers, wells, and pumps, though essential, are often tainted with sewage, industrial runoff, and debris. The specter of cholera hovers over households and streets alike, invisible yet deadly, claiming lives with alarming swiftness. Families, intimately familiar with these threats, develop routines and behaviors to navigate a world where every sip carries both nourishment and risk. Within homes, vigilance becomes a daily practice. Water is boiled whenever possible, strained through cloth to remove impurities, and stored with care to prevent contamination. Mothers teach children to recognize signs of unsafe water, guiding them with patience and caution. Kitchens are organized to minimize cross-contamination, utensils are washed and often boiled, and surfaces scrubbed with whatever cleansing agents are available. Every action, no matter how small, is a measure of protection against unseen danger. Outside, streets and alleys tell a story of struggle and adaptation. Workers returning from markets or factories choose safer sources of hydration, sometimes opting for beer or ale, recognizing it as a pragmatic alternative to polluted water. Public fountains, wells, and communal pumps are approached with wariness, and local knowledge becomes a tool for survival. Neighborhoods develop informal advisories, guiding residents toward cleaner sources and away from known hazards. Cholera outbreaks, while devastating, catalyze adaptation and awareness. Families learn to isolate the sick, to maintain cleanliness in shared spaces, and to monitor symptoms with acute attention. Knowledge, passed from mother to daughter, elder to child, becomes a vital asset. Households internalize lessons through observation and experience, gradually constructing a daily routine that balances necessity, caution, and care. Medical understanding, though still limited, begins to intersect with domestic practice. The growing awareness of waterborne transmission, championed by pioneers like John Snow, reinforces family vigilance. Boiling water, straining liquids, and careful food handling align not only with practical survival but with emerging scientific insight. Every repeated precaution embodies adaptation, resilience, and the quiet assertion of control over an environment filled with uncertainty. Through these adaptive behaviors, Victorian families demonstrate ingenuity and endurance. They confront the invisible enemy of contaminated water with observation, knowledge, and patient care. Each boiled kettle, each strained liquid, each careful choice becomes a meditation on survival, an expression of agency, and a testament to human resilience. In navigating the dangers of cholera, households shape routines, impart lessons, and preserve life, turning fear into structured, deliberate action, and danger into a subtle rhythm of precaution and care. In the dimly lit chambers of Victorian medicine, healing is often as perilous as the ailments themselves. Doctors and practitioners operate with limited understanding, guided by theories that are part observation, part tradition, and part hopeful conjecture. The miasma theory holds sway, asserting that disease is born from foul air, and in its shadow, treatments emerge that are at times more harmful than the conditions they seek to cure. Surgery, a brutal necessity, is performed without anesthesia for much of the population, the patient enduring pain with courage, while practitioners act with urgency and determination. Instruments, often unsterilized, pass from patient to patient, carrying risk with each incision. Infections thrive unseen, and the aftermath of even successful procedures can be as dangerous as the original illness. Families and patients navigate these challenges with trust, fear, and reliance upon the limited skills available. Dentistry, too, is a domain of improvisation and endurance. Barbers, blacksmiths, and itinerant practitioners extract teeth with crude tools, often without pain relief. Gums are lanced, teeth pulled, and abscesses drained in procedures that leave lasting scars and trauma. Pain, blood, and the anxiety of uncertain outcomes accompany every visit. Toothpaste, brushes, or rudimentary chewing sticks offer minimal prevention, while infections remain common and debilitating. Medical remedies, guided by incomplete knowledge, can be toxic. Mercury, opium, and other substances are administered for fever, inflammation, or general malaise. Household remedies, herbs, concoctions, and purgatives supplement professional care, reflecting both ingenuity and desperation. Families become adept at balancing hope and caution, observing effects, and adjusting practices according to experience. In this delicate negotiation, survival depends as much on attentiveness and adaptation as on the interventions themselves. Children learn early the boundaries of care and danger. Mothers teach caution with remedies, fathers guide through observation, and older siblings share knowledge of trusted practitioners. Within households, health practices become rituals, scrubbing hands, careful attention to food and water, observing signs of illness, reflecting both protective instinct and learned experience. Every precaution is a thread woven into daily life, a quiet meditation on vigilance and responsibility. Through the lens of Victorian medicine and dentistry, we witness a society grappling with fear, uncertainty, and limited resources. Yet we also witness ingenuity, resilience, and the persistent pursuit of health against formidable odds. Every cautious touch, every careful preparation, and every observed effect embodies a rhythm of adaptation. In these practices, danger is met with diligence, knowledge slowly accumulates, and families assert agency amidst the inherent risks of a medical world still in its infancy. In Victorian homes, personal grooming is a ritual that reflects both social expectation and practical necessity. Hair, often long and elaborate, carries the scents, oils, and evidence of daily life. Frequent washing is rare, sometimes feared as weakening to the body, and families turn to a variety of homemade remedies, eggs, vinegar, rum, and scented oils, to maintain appearance and manage odor. Hair is combed meticulously, braids arranged with care, and pomades applied to hold style and mask the natural aromas of daily existence. Clothing, too, is both a shield and a statement. Garments are washed infrequently, laboriously scrubbed by hand, sometimes soaked in ash or ammonia to remove stains and odors. For the wealthy, multiple changes of attire reflect status, propriety, and fashion. For the working classes, practicality dominates. Every piece of clothing is preserved, patched, and managed with care, becoming both a necessity and a form of dignity. Laundry, though arduous, embodies resilience and a quiet assertion of control over one's environment. Daily grooming routines integrate hygiene, appearance, and social performance. Teeth, rudimentary brushes or chewing sticks, and homemade pastes are used to preserve oral health as best possible. Hands are scrubbed before meals, and skin is attended with careful attention to visible cleanliness. Women, in particular, navigate complex beauty rituals, applying creams, powders, and oils, some toxic or harmful, to meet both societal and personal ideals. These acts are not mere vanity, they are assertions of respectability, self-discipline, and adaptation to a world where appearances carry meaning. Children observe and participate in these practices, absorbing lessons in hygiene, patience, and resourcefulness. Lessons are passed through generations, quietly shaping the rhythm of daily life and embedding knowledge that blends observation, experience, and societal expectation. Every comb stroke, every scrubbed sleeve, every carefully folded garment is a deliberate act of care, a meditation on resilience, and a reflection of human determination to maintain dignity amidst challenge. Through grooming and clothing, Victorian households reveal the intricate interplay of health, adaptation, and social signaling. Daily routines are structured not only by necessity but by cultural values, embedding lessons in discipline, observation, and persistence. Families, navigating scarcity and abundance alike, translate these rituals into practices that sustain life, assert identity, and cultivate resilience, forming the foundation of modern understandings of personal hygiene and social expectation. In the intimate confines of Victorian homes, women navigate the quiet, often unspoken challenges of menstrual hygiene. Resources are scarce, knowledge limited, and privacy is a luxury seldom afforded. Cloth, folded, washed, and reused, serves as a primary method of management, each piece carefully maintained to balance necessity with discretion. Mothers teach daughters the rituals of care, often in hushed tones, imparting practical wisdom shaped by generations of experience. Society places a heavy weight of expectation on women, linking cleanliness with morality, respectability, and social perception. The private, cyclical rhythm of the female body becomes both a personal challenge and a social responsibility. Women invent adaptations within the constraints of their environment, carefully timing laundry, selecting garments to conceal necessity, and devising methods to maintain hygiene despite limited water and sanitation. Every act reflects resilience, ingenuity, and the quiet assertion of agency in a world that affords little support. Domestic routines absorb these practices seamlessly. Basins are filled, water boiled, cloths scrubbed, and garments dried with careful attention. Women organize their households to accommodate cycles of care, embedding these acts into the broader rhythm of domestic life. Sisters, daughters, and servants contribute to shared knowledge, creating an informal network of guidance and support, a silent pedagogy of survival and dignity. Even within adversity, women find moments of control and self-expression. Hair is arranged, clothing managed, and hygiene rituals performed with intention, transforming limitation into practice. Beauty, cleanliness, and personal care are not merely aesthetic, they are acts of resilience, methods of asserting identity, and shields against social judgment. In these deliberate routines, women cultivate patience, strength, and quiet authority, navigating both the physical and societal constraints of their era. Children observe, learn, and internalize these lessons, understanding the delicate interplay of privacy, hygiene, and adaptation. Knowledge, passed down through generations, ensures that even in the most challenging circumstances, women maintain agency over their bodies and environments. The rhythm of care becomes a meditation, a deliberate practice intertwining observation, experience, and resilience, shaping life in ways that extend beyond immediate survival. Through the lens of menstrual hygiene, we witness the broader dynamics of Victorian life, the intersection of scarcity, social expectation, and human ingenuity. The quiet courage, adaptability, and daily determination of women embody a profound meditation on survival, dignity, and the capacity to navigate a world defined by constraints. Their practices, repeated, observed, and refined, form the hidden backbone of domestic life, nurturing health, fostering resilience, and sustaining families amidst the complexities of urban existence. In reflecting upon these routines, we recognize the subtle power of adaptation. Every carefully washed cloth, every organized garment, every private act of self-care speaks to the human capacity to endure, innovate, and preserve dignity. Victorian women, through their resilience and domestic mastery, transform limitation into structure, challenge into routine, and hardship into a quiet, enduring legacy of survival, hygiene, and grace. By the closing decades of the Victorian era, London has begun to breathe differently. The rivers no longer carry the same unbearable stench, streets are gradually cleared, and the city hums with a quieter, more ordered rhythm. Joseph Bazalgette's monumental sewer system has redefined the very foundation of urban life, channeling waste away, protecting water, and offering citizens the first real glimpse of hygiene as both a right and a practical reality. Yet, transformation is not sudden. Daily routines, once dictated by scarcity and danger, continue to blend tradition with newfound possibility. Families, attuned to the lessons of centuries, integrate clean water, soap, and sanitation into their lives, while still navigating the limitations of technology, infrastructure, and knowledge. Kitchens are brighter, laundry is less laborious, and the rhythm of domestic care now reflects both survival and emerging comfort. Public understanding of disease evolves alongside infrastructure. The germ theory gains traction, illuminating the invisible causes of suffering that miasma had once obscured. Cholera, typhoid, and dysentery, though not eliminated, are increasingly preventable through careful water management, hygiene, and observation. Schools, hospitals, and public institutions teach the principles of cleanliness, embedding knowledge in the fabric of society and shaping the next generation with awareness that was previously unimaginable. Hygiene becomes a shared responsibility, both domestic and civic. Women, through diligent domestic care, and men, through engineering and policy, converge in a quiet, persistent effort to transform urban life. Soap, boiling water, clean linens, and safe food become everyday symbols of resilience, knowledge, and dignity. The once dreaded public bathhouses now offer more than cleanliness. They are spaces of social empowerment and education, bridging class divides and demonstrating the tangible benefits of sanitation reform. The evolution of daily life is subtle yet profound. Children grow up accustomed to practices once foreign, learning that hands must be washed, teeth brushed, water treated, and food inspected. Households navigate a world where disease is not an ever-present shadow but a challenge increasingly mitigated by knowledge, discipline, and infrastructure. The ordinary acts of care, scrubbing, boiling, washing, arranging, take on a new significance, shaping both health and societal expectation. Reflecting on the Victorian journey, we see a society grappling with adversity, innovating with limited knowledge, and gradually transforming fear into understanding. The legacy of struggle becomes a foundation for modern sanitation, hygiene, and public health. It is a meditation on human perseverance, the capacity to endure filth and disease, to innovate, and to build systems that safeguard life for generations to come. In this culmination, we recognize the invisible threads that connect past and present: the water we drink, the streets we walk, the food we prepare, the soap in our hands, all resting upon the shoulders of those who navigated hardship, adapted to danger, and crafted routines of survival. Victorian London's journey from filth and fear to hygiene and health is more than history. It is a quiet testament to human resilience, the transformative power of knowledge, and the enduring importance of care, diligence, and adaptation. As we drift into reflection, we see in every washed hand, every clean street, every boiled kettle, the long arc of progress, the patient work of generations, and the legacy of those who, through courage, ingenuity, and persistence, made modern cleanliness, health, and dignity possible. As London's streets grow cleaner and its rivers flow more freely, the lessons of Victorian sanitation extend far beyond the city's boundaries. Engineers, public health officials, and governments across the world begin to study these transformations, seeking to replicate the effects of careful planning, infrastructure, and hygiene awareness. The monumental work of Joseph Bazalgette serves as both blueprint and inspiration, demonstrating the profound impact of coordinated action, science, and civic responsibility. Waterborne diseases, once a scourge of urban life, now meet practical, replicable solutions. Cities in Europe, North America, and beyond begin to integrate sewage systems, organized waste management, and public education into urban planning. Clean water becomes not merely a convenience, but a cornerstone of survival, shaping policies and daily behaviors. Families in distant lands learn lessons previously confined to the Thames, adopting boiling, straining, and other adaptive practices as part of the new rhythm of life. Medical understanding evolves in tandem. Germ theory, slowly replacing the miasma paradigm, informs public health measures, guiding interventions that save countless lives. Vaccination, sterilization, and food safety regulations emerge, translating the meticulous domestic care of Victorian households into citywide policies that protect communities. Knowledge, once localized and practical, now scales to global application, illustrating the power of science combined with infrastructure and education. Yet these lessons are not merely technical, they are profoundly human. The stories of adaptation, resilience, and ingenuity resonate across cultures and generations. Families who once feared every sip of water now benefit from safe plumbing, regulated food, and public health campaigns. Children grow accustomed to routines of cleanliness, awareness, and precaution, embedding habits that safeguard health without conscious effort. Societies learn that survival is both a collective and individual responsibility, nurtured through education, habit, and infrastructure. The Victorian experience illuminates the broader truth that public health is inseparable from environment, knowledge, and societal will. Pollution, overcrowding, and scarcity cannot be solved solely by individual action. They demand planning, investment, and coordination. Yet the careful, persistent practices within homes, washing hands, scrubbing utensils, boiling water, remain equally vital, demonstrating that progress is forged through the combination of personal diligence and systemic change. In reflecting upon these global implications, we see the enduring legacy of Victorian resilience. Their struggles illuminate modern priorities: access to clean water, proper sewage, safe food, and informed medical care. The invisible infrastructure of pipes, pumps, and policies supports life quietly and continuously, yet the wisdom embedded in daily routines, the care, attention, and patience of countless households, remains the enduring foundation. Through this lens, Victorian sanitation reform is more than a historical achievement. It is a meditation on human adaptability, the transformative power of knowledge, and the quiet diligence that bridges domestic care and societal well-being. Every clean street, every boiled kettle, every scrub basin is a testament to lessons learned, applied, and scaled. The echoes of these practices ripple outward, shaping global public health, guiding future generations, and reminding us that the pursuit of hygiene, health, and dignity is both timeless and universal. As the 20th century dawns, the rhythms of daily life continue to transform, carrying forward the lessons of Victorian hygiene into a new era of industrial progress, technological innovation, and public awareness. Cities hum with mechanized efficiency, pipes, pumps, and sewer systems expand, delivering clean water and managing waste with a precision that would have astonished the citizens of London just decades earlier. The act of washing, once laborious and fraught with risk, now becomes routine, comfortable, and accessible. Households embrace these industrial advances, integrating plumbing, running water, and gas heating into kitchens, bathrooms, and laundry rooms. Daily hygiene evolves from a series of cautious, adaptive rituals into a structured, almost automatic practice. Baths are more frequent, laundry more thorough, and cooking safer. Soap, now widely manufactured and affordable, becomes a ubiquitous tool for both personal and household cleanliness. Families, learning from past challenges, engage in these practices with the assurance that they are both effective and supported by science. Medical knowledge accelerates alongside technological progress. Vaccinations, sterilization, pasteurization, and regulated medicine reduce the risks that had once defined everyday life. Diseases that terrified Victorian London are now largely preventable or treatable. Public health campaigns educate citizens in ways previously unimaginable, spreading information about hygiene, nutrition, and disease prevention to schools, workplaces, and homes alike. The invisible architecture of modern sanitation, the pipes beneath streets, the treatment plants by rivers, the structured distribution of clean water, supports life quietly, yet fundamentally. Yet the legacy of Victorian adaptation remains embedded in cultural habits. Families continue to scrub surfaces, boil water, and inspect food, carrying forward a consciousness shaped by centuries of necessity. Children learn the same lessons, now reinforced by formal education. Hands must be washed before meals, teeth brushed twice daily, water treated when uncertain, and food prepared with care. What was once survival strategy becomes habitual, an ingrained rhythm of life that balances efficiency, safety, and dignity. Industrial advances further transform public spaces. Streets are paved, public restrooms installed, markets regulated, and waste collection organized. Urban planning, informed by the lessons of cholera and the Great Stink, prioritizes ventilation, drainage, and cleanliness, shaping cities that are safer, healthier, and more livable. The synergy of domestic diligence and systemic infrastructure demonstrates the profound ways in which human knowledge, ingenuity, and collective effort converge to redefine daily existence. Reflecting on this evolution, we recognize a continuum of human adaptation. Victorian struggles, fraught with filth, disease, and scarcity, laid the foundation for the modern conveniences often taken for granted today. Every clean basin, running tap, and regulated food market is a tribute to centuries of learning, experimentation, and perseverance. The quiet diligence of households, paired with industrial innovation and civic foresight, ensures that hygiene is no longer a constant struggle, but a structured, sustainable, and accessible aspect of life. Through this lens, the story of hygiene is not merely about cleanliness. It is a meditation on progress, resilience, and human ingenuity. It is the tale of societies learning from adversity, applying knowledge, and building systems that protect, sustain, and nurture life. Every act of care, from washing hands to boiling water, from scrubbing floors to inspecting food, reflects a rhythm of attentiveness that transcends centuries. It is a testament to the enduring human pursuit of health, dignity, and the quiet, persistent transformation of everyday life into a safer, more civilized, and more compassionate existence. As cities and households embrace the fruits of improved sanitation and hygiene, the impact extends beyond physical health into the realms of psychology, social behavior, and cultural expectation. Clean streets, flowing water, and the ritual of daily bathing transform more than the body. They reshape the mind, the home, and the perception of oneself in society. Families experience a subtle but profound shift. The anxiety once tied to contaminated water, spoiled food, or unchecked disease diminishes. Parents can care for children with confidence, knowing that the risks are now mitigated by infrastructure, education, and routine. The daily acts of washing, brushing, and scrubbing, once laborious and fraught with uncertainty, now bring comfort, security, and a sense of control. Hygiene becomes a source of empowerment, a ritual that nurtures both body and mind. Society as a whole begins to perceive cleanliness not only as a moral obligation but as a reflection of civic virtue and cultural refinement. Public behavior adjusts accordingly, citizens are more mindful of personal presentation, neighborhoods are kept orderly, and communities take pride in shared spaces. The connection between cleanliness, respectability, and social cohesion becomes tangible, shaping urban culture and fostering mutual responsibility. Education amplifies these effects. Schools teach children about germs, sanitation, and food safety, embedding a lifelong awareness of personal and communal hygiene. The simple act of washing hands before meals, or covering a cough, becomes an internalized rhythm of life. Families pass down lessons of diligence, observation, and careful preparation, ensuring that each generation inherits not only the physical infrastructure of cleanliness but also the cultural and psychological habits that sustain it. The influence of hygiene on mental well-being is subtle but undeniable. Clean, organized spaces, safe water, and reliable sanitation reduce stress and fear, fostering an environment where curiosity, learning, and creativity can flourish. The ability to trust in one's surroundings, to feel safe in one's home and community, nurtures resilience, patience, and a sense of stability. In this environment, daily life flows with a rhythm that balances caution, comfort, and confidence. Public perception also evolves. Where once filth was normalized, now cleanliness becomes aspirational. Modern attitudes toward hygiene, shaped by decades of reform, education, and infrastructure, carry lessons about the value of foresight, planning, and collective responsibility. Communities learn that investment in sanitation is not a luxury but a necessity, one that safeguards health, nurtures dignity, and cultivates a culture of care and consideration. In contemplating this transformation, we see a profound interplay between physical infrastructure, domestic diligence, and psychological well-being. Every washed hand, every clean street, every carefully prepared meal reflects a lineage of adaptation, knowledge, and resilience. Hygiene is no longer merely a practical necessity, it is a meditation on human progress, a rhythm of life that nurtures the body, calms the mind, and strengthens the social fabric. The journey from the crowded, fetid alleys of Victorian London to modern standards of cleanliness is more than history. It is a reflection of human ingenuity, persistence, and the quiet power of ordinary routines to transform daily existence. It reminds us that the care we take for granted today is built upon centuries of observation, adaptation, and determination, and that the pursuit of health, dignity, and well-being is both timeless and profoundly human. The story of hygiene extends beyond water, streets, and hands into the very sustenance of life, food. In Victorian times, the absence of refrigeration, coupled with crowded urban markets and inconsistent sanitation, meant that every meal carried uncertainty. Salted, smoked, or pickled foods were common, sometimes tainted or adulterated, and drinking water was often more dangerous than ale or wine. Families adapted with careful observation, skepticism, and routine, yet danger lingered in every morsel. As the 20th century advances, technology begins to transform these risks. Refrigeration, ice delivery, and improved storage practices extend the shelf life of perishable goods, making food safer, fresher, and more reliable. Household kitchens gradually adopt refrigerators, insulated cabinets, and regulated iceboxes, transforming the preparation, storage, and consumption of daily meals. Families now navigate the rhythms of nourishment with confidence rather than fear, and the act of feeding oneself becomes a ritual of both care and pleasure. Urban markets evolve alongside these domestic transformations. Vendors are regulated, health inspections introduced, and refrigeration technology ensures that meat, dairy, and produce arrive in safer conditions. Public awareness campaigns educate citizens about proper handling, preparation, and storage, embedding habits that prevent spoilage and contamination. The simple acts of washing vegetables, refrigerating leftovers, and cooking to safe temperatures become part of daily life, uniting science, habit, and diligence in the quiet theater of the kitchen. Meal preparation itself becomes a reflection of knowledge, care, and adaptation. Parents teach children the importance of washing hands before cooking, inspecting ingredients, and understanding the signs of spoilage. Recipes and techniques evolve, balancing flavor, nutrition, and safety. The home kitchen becomes a laboratory, classroom, and sanctuary, an arena where domestic care meets scientific principles, shaping both physical health and cultural practice. The psychological comfort provided by these advances cannot be understated. Families eat with confidence, knowing that their food is safe, their water is clean, and their kitchens are prepared with care. Stress and uncertainty, once inseparable from daily meals, diminish, and nourishment becomes a source of reassurance as well as sustenance. The simple act of sharing a meal becomes infused with dignity, safety, and stability. Food safety reforms also reinforce social cohesion. Communities understand that hygiene is collective, that markets, regulations, and shared knowledge protect all citizens. The invisible threads of inspection, regulation, and careful domestic practice weave together to form a tapestry of protection, one that ensures that nourishment, survival, and well-being are shared responsibilities. Reflecting on this evolution, we see that the journey from Victorian uncertainty to modern confidence in food mirrors the broader arc of public health. It is a meditation on adaptation, observation, and human ingenuity. Every washed vegetable, every cooled dish, every carefully stored ingredient reflects centuries of learning, practical experimentation, and incremental progress. The rituals of cooking, storing, and eating, once fraught with danger, now become quiet acts of care, continuity, and reflection, a rhythm of life that nourishes not only the body but the mind and the social fabric alike. As cities modernize, private bathing becomes more common, yet public bathing remains essential for many urban dwellers. Bathhouses emerge as communal sanctuaries, spaces where cleanliness, social interaction, and education converge. For the working class, who cannot afford private baths, these facilities provide both relief and dignity, offering a chance to experience cleanliness, refreshment, and personal care in a structured, safe environment. The ritual of public bathing carries rhythm, instruction, and reflection. Individuals line up in orderly fashion, moving through changing rooms, steam-filled spaces, and pools of warm water. Families, neighbors, and friends navigate the space with quiet respect, understanding that these shared routines are both practical and socially instructive. Bath attendants guide newcomers, teaching proper washing techniques, careful attention to hair and skin, and the importance of hygiene for personal and communal well-being. Communal hygiene fosters awareness, accountability, and social cohesion. Children learn not only the physical aspects of washing but also the etiquette and responsibility of maintaining shared spaces. Communities internalize the principle that personal cleanliness is intertwined with public health, and that each individual contributes to the collective welfare through thoughtful practice. These spaces become more than functional; they are educational, moral, and cultural hubs, quietly reinforcing habits that shape society. The sensory experience of public bathing is profound. The warmth of water, the steam rising from tiled pools, the scent of soap and oils, and the gentle chatter of neighbors combine into a rhythm of reassurance. Individuals emerge renewed, physically and psychologically, carrying with them both confidence in their appearance and a sense of connection to the wider community. In these moments, hygiene becomes meditation, a deliberate act of care that nourishes both body and mind. Shared sanitation also exposes social hierarchies and disparities. The wealthy, able to bathe at home in private comfort, contrast with those relying on public facilities, yet the communal environment fosters empathy, learning, and adaptation. The very act of sharing space for hygiene becomes a subtle social equalizer, teaching patience, consideration, and the understanding that cleanliness, dignity, and health are universal needs, irrespective of class. Reflecting on the evolution of public bathing, we see the intertwining of infrastructure, culture, and personal discipline. Bathhouses, pools, and communal facilities exemplify how society balances individual care with collective responsibility. They illuminate the human capacity to adapt, innovate, and cultivate habits that serve both self and society. The legacy of these spaces persists in modern swimming pools, gyms, and public washrooms, each echoing the centuries-long pursuit of health, dignity, and social cohesion. In every warm bath, every scrubbed surface, every respectful interaction within these spaces, the story of communal hygiene unfolds. It is a meditation on the quiet power of shared experience, the intersection of infrastructure and culture, and the enduring human pursuit of cleanliness, well-being, and connection. Through public bathing, societies not only cleanse the body, they cultivate patience, empathy, and a sense of shared responsibility that strengthens the fabric of urban life. The arrival of modern plumbing transforms the rhythm of daily life in ways that Victorian London could scarcely imagine. Water flows on demand, hot and cold, through pipes hidden within walls, bringing warmth, comfort, and cleanliness into the private domain of the home. Bathrooms, once a rare luxury, become familiar sanctuaries, spaces of personal care, reflection, and reassurance. Daily routines evolve alongside these technological advancements. Baths, showers, and sinks allow for frequent and thorough washing, while flushing toilets eliminate the risks associated with cesspools and open drains. Laundry becomes easier, faster, and more hygienic as water supply, drainage, and heating systems combine to relieve households of centuries-old laborious tasks. Families now move through routines of care with certainty, their efforts supported by innovation, science, and infrastructure. The psychological and social impact of plumbing is profound. Personal hygiene no longer requires the careful negotiation of scarce resources. It becomes reliable, predictable, and accessible. Children grow up accustomed to washing hands before meals, brushing teeth daily, and bathing regularly. Hygiene becomes ingrained, internalized, and habitual, a quiet meditation on self-care, health, and responsibility. The home itself, equipped with plumbing, becomes a protective environment, a sanctuary where illness is mitigated and comfort is accessible to all family members. Public perception of cleanliness shifts alongside these domestic improvements. The integration of plumbing into urban planning transforms streets, neighborhoods, and communities. Drains carry away waste invisibly, water flows freely, and sanitation infrastructure operates quietly but fundamentally to protect health. Cities are not only cleaner, they are safer, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. Citizens understand that progress is the product of both domestic diligence and systemic innovation, and they participate in a culture of care that balances personal practice with collective responsibility. Technological advancements extend beyond basic plumbing. Hot water systems, water heaters, and improved insulation ensure that baths and washing are not only possible but convenient. Household appliances streamline domestic chores, turning formerly exhausting tasks into manageable routines. Families experience relief, efficiency, and the psychological comfort of knowing that hygiene, food safety, and cleanliness are supported by both human knowledge and engineered systems. Reflecting on these transformations, we see the convergence of centuries of human ingenuity. Victorian struggles with water, disease, and laborious hygiene practices laid the foundation for modern convenience, while the scientific understanding of germs, sanitation, and disease prevention guided infrastructure and policy. Today, the simple act of turning a tap, filling a bathtub, or flushing a toilet embodies a lineage of adaptation, resilience, and societal advancement. The legacy of these innovations is both physical and cultural. Plumbing and household bathrooms nurture health, strengthen families, and cultivate habits that reinforce dignity and responsibility. The quiet certainty of running water supports a meditation on human progress, a rhythm of daily life in which care, science, and technology converge. In every splash of water, every scrubbed surface, and every ritual of cleanliness, the story of centuries unfolds, a testament to the enduring pursuit of health, comfort, and human well-being. As running water and household bathrooms become commonplace, hygiene transcends mere necessity and enters the realms of culture, aesthetics, and social expression. Cleanliness is no longer only about health, it is an articulation of identity, dignity, and personal presentation. Daily routines, once dictated by survival, now reflect care, style, and intentionality. Personal grooming evolves in tandem with societal expectations. Hair is washed, combed, and styled. Teeth are brushed, polished, and examined with routine diligence. Nails are trimmed and cared for. The rituals of cleanliness extend beyond mere survival into conscious aesthetic practice, offering individuals both pride in appearance and confidence in social interaction. Bathrooms, mirrors, and grooming tools become intimate spaces of reflection and self-expression, allowing individuals to cultivate presence, poise, and ritualized care. The social significance of hygiene is profound. Cleanliness conveys respect for oneself and others, marking a person as conscientious, disciplined, and aware. In public spaces, freshly washed hair, polished shoes, and neat clothing communicate care, attention, and a shared understanding of social norms. Communities internalize these expectations, fostering cohesion and mutual responsibility. Hygiene becomes both private discipline and public statement, shaping behavior, perception, and social interaction. Cultural practices intertwine with technological advances to enhance hygiene. Hair dryers, toothbrushes with bristles engineered for effectiveness, soaps and cleansers with improved formulations, all tools of convenience and efficiency, reflect the evolution of human ingenuity. Beauty products, once toxic or harmful, are now designed for safety and effectiveness, balancing personal care with health. The ordinary acts of grooming, once fraught with risk, now embody reassurance, precision, and conscious choice. Education reinforces these cultural norms. Schools teach not only physical hygiene but also etiquette, appearance, and social awareness. Children learn the rhythms of care, internalizing the practices that ensure health while cultivating self-respect and social confidence. Habits once driven by necessity now flourish through awareness, instruction, and repetition, becoming a seamless part of the daily cadence of life. The psychological effects of grooming are subtle yet profound. The act of washing, brushing, and preparing oneself establishes rhythm, mindfulness, and a sense of control. Cleanliness fosters confidence, reducing anxiety, and reinforcing the sense that life is manageable, orderly, and predictable. Through these practices, individuals experience both bodily care and mental reassurance, connecting routine action to emotional well-being. Reflecting on this evolution, we see that modern hygiene is a meditation on the convergence of necessity, culture, and technology. The rituals of grooming, care, and cleanliness are layered with history, societal learning, and human ingenuity. Each brushstroke, combed strand, and polished surface reflects centuries of adaptation, resilience, and refinement, reminding us that the pursuit of health and beauty is not merely cosmetic. It is a testament to the human desire for dignity, well-being, and social harmony. In every mirror, every grooming tool, every carefully attended detail, the legacy of past generations resonates. From the crowded streets of Victorian London to the comfortable bathrooms of the modern home, the journey of hygiene unfolds as a narrative of human perseverance, adaptation, and mindful care, a quiet, continuous meditation on what it means to live with health, dignity, and grace. As the 20th century unfolds, hygiene becomes not only a personal practice but a collective cultural expectation, reinforced through education, media, and public campaigns. Governments, schools, and civic organizations recognize that health is not solely the product of private diligence. It is also cultivated through knowledge, awareness, and shared norms. Public health education emerges as a quiet revolution, guiding societies towards safer, healthier, and more conscious ways of living. In classrooms, children learn the science of germs, the rhythms of hand washing, the importance of clean water, and the proper handling of food. Lessons are structured, repeated, and reinforced with visual aids, posters, and hands-on demonstrations. The seemingly simple act of washing hands before meals is elevated to a ritual of responsibility, a habit that carries the weight of centuries of observation and adaptation. Through these structured lessons, hygiene becomes a natural, internalized behavior, a reflection of awareness, discipline, and social responsibility. Media amplifies these lessons, reaching far beyond the classroom. Posters, pamphlets, and newspapers communicate health advice, demonstrate proper techniques, and educate the public about the dangers of disease and the benefits of cleanliness. Animated illustrations, photographs, and advertisements show children washing hands, families preparing meals safely, and citizens tending to streets and neighborhoods. The integration of visual culture ensures that hygiene knowledge penetrates homes, workplaces, and communal spaces, embedding a consciousness that supports both individual and societal health. Public campaigns carry a subtle moral and social undertone. Cleanliness is framed not only as a health necessity but as a reflection of character, responsibility, and civic virtue. Citizens are encouraged to care for themselves, their families, and their communities, understanding that the invisible threads of hygiene connect individual actions to collective well-being. Washing hands, scrubbing surfaces, and preparing food safely are no longer merely practical. They are acts of care, empathy, and shared social duty. The normalization of hygiene through education and media transforms society subtly but profoundly. Habits that were once burdensome, uncertain, or limited by circumstance now become intuitive, internalized, and culturally reinforced. Children grow accustomed to routines that promote health, while adults reinforce these practices through habit and example. Public spaces, markets, schools, and workplaces reflect these standards, creating environments that nurture both physical safety and psychological reassurance. The psychological impact is tangible. Knowledge reduces fear. Awareness fosters confidence. Citizens move through life with the quiet certainty that personal diligence, collective responsibility, and informed practice converge to protect health. Hygiene becomes not only routine but meditative, a rhythm that soothes the mind while safeguarding the body. The interplay between education, media, and daily life demonstrates how knowledge, culture, and infrastructure together shape human experience. Reflecting on this evolution, we see the culmination of centuries of struggle, adaptation, and learning. From the crowded, unsanitary streets of Victorian London to the modern, educated society, the story of hygiene unfolds as a narrative of resilience, ingenuity, and mindfulness. Public health education and media reinforce not only practices but values, embedding awareness, care, and social responsibility into the fabric of everyday life. In every classroom, every poster, every article, and every family routine, the legacy of this knowledge persists. It is a meditation on continuity, cultural adaptation, and the quiet power of awareness to shape society. Hygiene, once a matter of survival, now embodies dignity, mindfulness, and the shared pursuit of health, reflecting the enduring human journey toward a safer, cleaner, and more compassionate world. With the relentless advance of technology, the rituals of hygiene, domestic care, and food preparation become increasingly seamless, reliable, and sophisticated. The plumbing networks that bring fresh water into homes, flush away waste, and ensure sanitation operate invisibly yet fundamentally, shaping daily life in ways once unimaginable. Households no longer face uncertainty about water quality, drainage, or sanitation. These systems work quietly in the background, a testament to engineering and human foresight. Refrigeration transforms kitchens and meals. Perishable foods are stored safely, iceboxes and refrigerators preserve freshness, and families can plan meals with confidence, knowing that spoilage is minimized. Leftovers are stored and reheated, ingredients remain nutritious and safe, and the household rhythm of cooking, cleaning, and dining flows with certainty and ease. Food, once a potential source of illness, now becomes a reliable pillar of health, comfort, and social connection. Cleaning tools evolve alongside infrastructure. Brushes, brooms, mop systems, and early vacuum devices reduce the labor of household maintenance, allowing families to maintain cleanliness without exhaustive effort. Surfaces are scrubbed, floors polished, and homes sanitized with efficiency, freeing time and energy for work, education, and leisure. The very architecture of living spaces adapts, with tiled kitchens, washable walls, and smooth surfaces supporting the habits of care and reducing the risk of contamination. Technology also transforms public spaces. Streets are paved, public toilets installed, and drainage systems extend across urban landscapes. Markets, schools, and workplaces reflect the cumulative impact of innovation, cleanliness, accessibility, and health-conscious design. Citizens interact with environments optimized for safety, hygiene, and comfort, reinforcing cultural norms and expectations. The invisible infrastructure, pipes, treatment plants, and waste management systems underpins daily life, sustaining not only physical health but societal well-being. Psychologically, these technological advances provide reassurance. families and communities can trust that basic needs, water, food, sanitation, are met reliably. Anxiety about contamination diminishes, and routines of care, once cautious and laborious, become intuitive, habitual, and meditative. Technology supports both efficiency and peace of mind, creating an environment where life flows with predictability, safety, and dignity. The integration of modern technology illustrates the interdependence of innovation, culture, and behavior. Each faucet, refrigerator, cleaning implement, and drainage pipe is a product of human ingenuity and adaptation, reflecting lessons learned from centuries of struggle with disease, scarcity, and laborious hygiene. These systems are invisible yet transformative, quietly shaping the daily rhythms, social habits, and collective well-being of societies. In contemplating this evolution, we see that hygiene is more than physical maintenance. It is a narrative of resilience, adaptation, and progress. From the crowded, fetid streets of Victorian London to homes filled with running water, cold storage, and efficient cleaning tools, the story of human care unfolds as a meditation on ingenuity, continuity, and the quiet pursuit of safety, dignity, and comfort. Every routine act, washing hands, storing food, scrubbing surfaces, is part of this long lineage of knowledge and innovation, an ongoing testament to humanity's capacity to transform daily life through technology and mindful practice. As the 20th and 21st centuries unfold, hygiene, sanitation, and public health cease to be local concerns alone. They become global imperatives. International cooperation, scientific collaboration, and the diffusion of knowledge transform how cities, nations, and communities address cleanliness, disease prevention, and human well-being. Lessons learned from centuries of struggle, overcrowding, contaminated water, and the spread of infectious disease inform policy, infrastructure, and culture across the world. Modern sanitation standards emerge as a universal framework, guiding the construction of safe drinking water systems, sewage treatment plants, and hygienic public facilities. Cities are designed or retrofitted with pipelines, water purification systems, and accessible toilets to ensure that human waste is treated safely and that clean water is available to all residents. These measures reduce disease, protect vulnerable populations, and foster confidence that urban life can be both vibrant and safe. Global public health initiatives extend beyond infrastructure. Vaccination programs, health education campaigns, and disease surveillance systems ensure that populations are informed, protected, and empowered to participate in their own well-being. Governments, NGOs, and international bodies collaborate to mitigate the spread of epidemics, distribute clean water, and promote sanitation practices in schools, workplaces, and homes. Hygiene is no longer a solitary endeavor. It is a shared responsibility, supported by networks of knowledge, policy, and technological innovation. The influence of these initiatives is visible in contemporary urban life. Streets are clean, public spaces well-maintained, and citizens engage in routines of personal care with confidence. Food preparation, water consumption, and sanitation practices are regulated, monitored, and standardized. Families navigate daily life with assurance, children internalize habits that safeguard health, and communities thrive in environments shaped by centuries of learning and innovation. Culturally, these standards shape expectations and social norms. Clean, safe living is considered a right and a responsibility. Hygiene becomes intertwined with social identity, civic pride, and public consciousness. Citizens recognize that collective diligence, washing hands, preparing food safely, maintaining public spaces, is essential to sustaining urban life, protecting the vulnerable, and fostering trust within society. Psychologically, the security provided by global standards and local infrastructure nurtures calm, stability, and focus. Anxiety over contaminated water, spoiled food, or unsanitary surroundings diminishes. Daily routines of bathing, cooking, and cleaning, once burdensome and fraught with risk, are now meditative, reassuring, and almost instinctive. The rhythms of life flow more smoothly, supported by the invisible labor of engineers, health professionals, and civic planners. Reflecting on this evolution, we see the culmination of centuries of human ingenuity, resilience, and social learning. From the fetid streets of Victorian London to the structured, regulated cities of the modern world, the pursuit of hygiene and public health illustrates the quiet, persistent progress of human civilization. Every clean tap, every purified glass of water, every safe meal, and every maintained street embodies the legacy of observation, adaptation, and cooperation. The story of sanitation and hygiene is thus both historical and ongoing. It reminds us that modern life, with its apparent ease and comfort, is built upon centuries of struggle, innovation, and careful attention to the interplay between human behavior, technology, and society. In every city, neighborhood, and household, the invisible systems of public health continue to protect, nurture, and sustain life, ensuring that the pursuit of cleanliness, dignity, and well-being remains a central, shared rhythm of human existence. Hygiene, once a desperate response to filth, disease, and uncertainty, has transformed into a quiet, meditative rhythm woven into the fabric of daily life. From the first morning wash to the final evening routine, the simple acts of bathing, washing hands, brushing teeth, and grooming become a choreography of care, reflection, and mindfulness. Each movement, each gesture, carries centuries of accumulated knowledge, adaptation, and cultural expectation. The psychological comfort of these rituals is profound. Water running over the skin, the scent of soap, the rhythm of brushing or scrubbing, all provide reassurance and stability. Daily hygiene is a subtle meditation, a space of calm in which the body is cleansed and the mind reassured. It is a quiet assertion of control over one's environment, a reaffirmation of dignity, and a gentle reminder that personal well-being is both achievable and sustainable. Cultural meanings are layered within these routines. Cleanliness reflects care, discipline, and social respect. Through these acts, individuals communicate attention to detail, mindfulness, and a shared understanding of societal norms. In homes, schools, workplaces, and public spaces, the rituals of hygiene silently reinforce cohesion, empathy, and mutual responsibility. Each scrubbed surface, each neatly combed strand of hair, and each washed hand is an echo of social values, a reflection of care not only for oneself but for others. The legacy of history is present in every act. From the grim streets of Victorian London, where contamination was constant and bathing rare, to modern homes and cities where running water, clean surfaces, and safe food are taken for granted, these routines are a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. Each daily ritual is a bridge connecting the struggles, discoveries, and innovations of the past with the comfort, knowledge, and stability of the present. Moreover, hygiene rituals cultivate mindfulness and awareness. They slow the pace of life, allowing individuals to focus on their own bodies, sensations, and needs. The warmth of a bath, the scent of soap, the careful brushing of teeth, and the deliberate preparation of meals all create moments of reflection. These acts, though seemingly mundane, sustain health, reinforce social habits, and nurture psychological well-being. Communal and social dimensions also persist. Even in private routines, the awareness that hygiene contributes to the safety and comfort of others informs behavior. Children learn that clean hands protect not only themselves but also their classmates and family members. Workers recognize that personal care reduces the spread of illness in workplaces and public spaces. These acts create invisible networks of care, extending the impact of individual hygiene into the wider social fabric. Reflecting on these practices, we see that hygiene is not merely functional. It is a meditation on human adaptation, the quiet evolution of knowledge, and the interplay between body, mind, and society. It embodies dignity, mindfulness, and continuity, a daily ritual that connects past and present, individual and community, survival and comfort. In every mirror, every sink, every carefully attended gesture, the story of human care unfolds. It is a narrative of perseverance, learning, and the cultivation of health, both physical and psychological. Hygiene, as daily ritual, reminds us that the simplest acts of care are also profound acts of reflection, continuity, and shared humanity, a quiet testament to the enduring journey toward a safer, cleaner, and more mindful existence. Across the globe, hygiene intertwines with culture, technology, and ritual, creating a tapestry of practices shaped by history, environment, and social norms. In every corner of human civilization, the rhythms of cleanliness reflect a dialogue between necessity and culture, invention and tradition, practicality and symbolism. From the bustling cities of Europe to remote villages in Asia and Africa, hygiene is both universal and uniquely adapted to local conditions. Technology amplifies the capacity to maintain hygiene. Plumbing, water filtration, refrigeration, and cleaning implements make safe, consistent hygiene possible even in densely populated urban centers. These innovations ease the physical burdens of daily care, providing access to clean water, safe food, and sanitary environments. Yet the adoption and integration of technology are filtered through cultural habits, beliefs, and social practices, creating distinct patterns of care and ritual in every society. Cultural norms shape what cleanliness means, how it is expressed, and why it matters. In some societies, bathing is a ceremonial act, performed in rivers, communal pools, or sacred spaces, connecting physical cleanliness with spiritual purification. In others, daily showers or meticulous grooming signal social respect, professional readiness, or moral character. Even within technologically advanced contexts, these practices maintain symbolic weight, reinforcing identity, heritage, and social cohesion. Hygiene is also a shared language, bridging private and public spaces. Communities teach, model, and reinforce behavior. Children learn from parents, schools formalize lessons, and media amplifies expectations. Social networks ensure that hygiene practices spread, adapt, and persist, creating invisible patterns of influence and care. The convergence of technology and culture allows societies to innovate while honoring tradition, ensuring that cleanliness remains both effective and meaningful. The psychological and social dimensions of hygiene are deeply interwoven. Rituals of bathing, grooming, and cleaning instill calm, reflection, and confidence. The predictability of routine supports mental health, while visible signs of care foster social trust and mutual respect. Families, neighborhoods, and workplaces benefit when individuals internalize habits of cleanliness, recognizing the connection between personal responsibility and collective well-being. Historical struggles echo in contemporary practice. From the epidemics of Victorian London to modern global pandemics, societies have learned that hygiene is more than a personal act. It is a protective, ethical, and social imperative. Technology enables action, culture provides context, and ritual ensures continuity. Together, they create a resilient framework that adapts to environmental challenges, scientific discoveries, and shifting social expectations. Reflecting on this global perspective, we see hygiene as a meditation on human ingenuity, adaptation, and shared responsibility. It demonstrates how technology, culture, and ritual converge to create environments that protect, nurture, and sustain life. Every clean hand, every purified drop of water, every thoughtfully maintained space is a testament to the human capacity to learn, innovate, and harmonize survival with meaning. In every home, school, city, and community, the story of hygiene unfolds. It is a narrative of progress, resilience, and cultural adaptation, a continuous thread that connects past struggles with present practices and future innovations. Through the lens of global hygiene, we witness the enduring human pursuit of health, dignity, and interconnected care, a quiet meditation on what it means to live well, collectively and individually, across the diverse landscapes of the world. The story of hygiene extends beyond private homes and daily rituals, reaching into classrooms, media, and the hearts of nations. In the 20th and 21st centuries, public health initiatives evolve into a deliberate, structured effort to educate populations, prevent disease, and normalize practices that protect both individuals and communities. Education becomes a powerful tool, shaping behavior, awareness, and societal expectation across generations. Schools emerge as pivotal centers for hygiene education. Children are taught the science of germs, the importance of hand washing, the safety of drinking water, and the care required in food preparation. Lessons are repeated, demonstrated, and reinforced with visuals, hands-on practice, and discussion. By embedding hygiene into the daily rhythms of learning, society cultivates awareness and responsibility from an early age. Children grow up internalizing habits that will protect them, their families, and their communities. Media amplifies these lessons, reaching far beyond classrooms. Posters, pamphlets, radio broadcasts, television campaigns, and, more recently, digital media provide guidance on hygiene practices, safe food handling, disease prevention, and personal care. Illustrations, infographics, and storytelling communicate complex information in accessible, memorable ways. Families, workers, and citizens of all ages absorb these messages, gradually adopting them into daily life and cultural norms. Global health initiatives further expand the reach and impact of hygiene education. Organizations such as the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and national public health agencies coordinate efforts to provide clean water, sanitation, vaccination, and educational programs worldwide. Campaigns target urban centers, rural communities, and vulnerable populations, ensuring that knowledge and resources are distributed equitably. Hygiene becomes not only a personal responsibility but a shared global endeavor. These programs integrate science, technology, and culture. Handwashing stations are installed in schools, public facilities provide clean water, and vaccines reduce the spread of infectious diseases. Educational campaigns respect cultural norms while encouraging practices that are scientifically effective. The result is a delicate balance: innovation and tradition, knowledge and habit, personal care and collective responsibility. The psychological effects are profound. Knowledge empowers. Awareness reduces fear. Understanding the mechanisms of disease and the importance of hygiene fosters confidence and reinforces trust in public systems. Communities thrive as invisible networks of care extend from informed individuals to households, neighborhoods, and cities. Hygiene becomes both intuitive and meditative, a rhythm that reassures the mind while protecting the body. Reflecting on these developments, we see the culmination of centuries of observation, struggle, and adaptation. From the unsanitary streets of Victorian London to global health initiatives that span continents, the pursuit of hygiene embodies resilience, learning, and human ingenuity. Daily routines, public education, and global collaboration converge to create environments that nurture well-being, dignity, and continuity. In every classroom, every campaign, and every public facility, the story of hygiene continues to unfold. It is a meditation on the collective human effort to live safely, thoughtfully, and compassionately, a narrative that honors the past, engages the present, and prepares future generations for lives enriched by knowledge, care, and shared responsibility. The evolution of hygiene and sanitation is not merely a story of tools, routines, or education, it is a story of life itself. Across centuries, from the crowded, foul streets of Victorian cities to the carefully engineered urban environments of today, hygiene has proven to be a silent guardian of health, a quiet force that shapes longevity, well-being, and the quality of human existence. Modern sanitation interrupts the chain of disease. Clean water, efficient sewage systems, and regulated waste management prevent the spread of cholera, typhoid, and countless other illnesses that once claimed lives indiscriminately. Handwashing, food safety practices, and public health infrastructure reduce infection, lower mortality rates, and provide a stable foundation for human growth and societal development. Each flush, each filtered drop, each scrubbed surface carries the invisible power to preserve life and nurture health. The psychological and social impacts are equally profound. Individuals experience daily reassurance, moving through life with confidence in the safety of their environments. Families thrive as children are protected from preventable illness. Communities flourish as citizens internalize routines that reduce risk and sustain collective well-being. The mind is calmed when the body is protected, and the rhythms of life are strengthened by the knowledge that danger has been mitigated by human ingenuity and cooperation. Longevity itself is reshaped by these advances. Populations once ravaged by epidemics and contamination now experience longer, healthier lives. The burdens of preventable disease diminish, allowing energy, creativity, and social potential to flourish. Societies invest in education, arts, and technology because the foundational need for survival and safety has been addressed. Hygiene, often invisible in its operation, becomes a powerful enabler of progress and human flourishing. Quality of life is intimately tied to hygiene. Clean living spaces, safe drinking water, and access to sanitary facilities not only prevent disease but enhance comfort, dignity, and self-respect. Domestic and public environments designed with sanitation in mind reduce stress, improve mental well-being, and foster social cohesion. Children learn the importance of care, responsibility, and mindfulness, growing into adults who sustain these practices for the next generation. Global comparisons reveal the profound difference hygiene makes. Populations with access to modern sanitation, safe water, and hygiene education enjoy greater health, productivity, and social stability. Where infrastructure is lacking, communities continue to struggle with preventable illness, lost productivity, and social inequity. These contrasts underscore the ongoing relevance of hygiene as both a public health priority and a marker of social justice. Reflecting on this, we see hygiene as both practical and philosophical. It is a tangible intervention, a daily act, and a social responsibility. It is a meditation on continuity, adaptation, and care, connecting each individual's actions to the broader flow of history, knowledge, and human survival. Each act of washing, each installation of clean water, and each campaign for safe sanitation represents a triumph of observation, ingenuity, and collective determination. From past to present, the story of hygiene is a testament to resilience, intelligence, and foresight. It reminds us that the seemingly ordinary routines of daily life are in fact profound safeguards of human potential. Through hygiene, humanity preserves life, nurtures communities, and sustains the quiet, steady rhythm of civilization itself. As we close this journey through time, we pause to reflect on the remarkable evolution of human care, hygiene, and the invisible systems that sustain life. From the crowded, fetid streets of Victorian London, where disease and filth were constant companions, to the modern cities where clean water flows, food is safe, and daily routines carry the quiet assurance of well-being, we witness a story of resilience, ingenuity, and collective determination. The path has been neither simple nor swift. Centuries of struggle, experimentation, and sometimes tragic loss have shaped our understanding of health, cleanliness, and human responsibility. From the earliest sponge baths and rudimentary dental care to the sophisticated sanitation infrastructure, refrigeration, and public health campaigns of today, each step represents a triumph over ignorance, danger, and circumstance. Hygiene is more than cleanliness. It is a meditation, a ritual, a shared cultural practice that safeguards both body and mind. It connects individuals to their communities, and communities to the knowledge and innovation of generations past. Each act of care, washing hands, preparing food safely, scrubbing surfaces, maintaining sanitation, is a link in the chain that preserves life, nurtures health, and fosters dignity. We see that technology, culture, education, and public policy are intertwined. Pipes, treatment plants, schools, posters, and campaigns all serve as extensions of human care, ensuring that knowledge is applied, habits are sustained, and societies thrive. The invisible work of engineers, educators, health professionals, and ordinary citizens has transformed the world, turning what was once hazardous, exhausting, and uncertain into a life enriched by comfort, safety, and confidence. Reflecting on this story, we are reminded of the extraordinary capacity of humanity to adapt, innovate, and persevere. The struggles of the past have gifted the present with clean water, safe food, and daily routines that protect life and nurture the mind. These are not conveniences. They are achievements built from knowledge, effort, and collective care across generations. As we drift toward rest, let us honor the invisible threads of history that shape our daily lives. Let us appreciate the resilience of those who lived in times of hardship, who endured, adapted, and passed down lessons that sustain us now. And let us recognize that the pursuit of hygiene, health, and dignity continues, not as a mere obligation, but as a shared journey toward a world where safety, mindfulness, and care are not privileges, but the quiet, enduring fabric of human life. In every clean drop of water, in every careful meal, in every mindful ritual, the story continues. It is a story of survival, of growth, of humanity's unwavering commitment to life and well-being. And as we close our eyes, let us rest in the gentle reassurance that the legacy of hygiene, the triumphs of knowledge, and the quiet care of generations past carry us safely into the present, and gently guide us into tomorrow. Sleep peacefully, knowing that this story is both history and living practice, a reminder of how far we have come, and how every small act of care continues to shape the world in profound, unseen ways.